But I thought, we'll cover it instead. Probably easier for everyone involved.
Yeah. More fun.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 851. Your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty, or, as from the thumbnail, this should be obvious. And this is from ex-BioWare employee Mark Darrah, and I don't know what he's doing, because usually he used to have some decent takes on games. Obviously, he's been in the game industry for a while, and he talks about, what does it take to make a game? What's the process, etc. So why he's trying to school people on social media, I don't get it. Maybe it's a political thing. Like the people at BioWare are highly politicized, so they think they got to be morally superior and they got to teach their youngers how to be like him. I don't know. Any kind of these arguments where it's like, you should be better than what you are. It's like, yes, but you're not my mom. You're not my teacher. You're not my priest. You're not anyone.
You gotta do better, Senator.
Yeah, it's just like, who are you to tell especially Americans, what you should and shouldn't say? Because that's just going to rile everyone up, and you're going to look like a moron. You could tell from his like and dislike ratio. I see 1.1 thousand upvotes and 2.6 thousand downvotes, and this just came out yesterday, so this is only, 15,000 views. And if you read his comments, he's getting just destroyed. It's funny to watch this, but he said, there's obviously some mega channels out there that are redirecting to this video. It's like, no, you only have 15,000 views, dude. It's not mega channels. It's anyone who has BioWare, who has searched for BioWare. You normally pop up because you have that in your profile, and you happen to have a video that has been boosted by at least 3 gaming websites in the past day.
But he has been like a BioWare developer for over 2 decades.
Oh, yeah.
Did I read that right? Like 97 to 21.
Yeah, he quit.
That's a long time.
He quit in the 21st of February. And there's a huge list of names before that left BioWare.
Must be after January 6th.
Yeah, well, Casey left in 2020. So did Mark. Well, you could say in January or February he was still there, but he quit officially with Casey in December. Mac was in 2021, Mac Walters. So, and that was the second time Casey left. So, there's other people before him as well, like Mike Laidlaw in 2017. There's
Mark Laidlaw was in BioWare?
Mike Laidlaw, yeah.
Wasn't he the Valve guy?
He was the creative director of Dragon Age. James Olin.
Really?
Yeah, James Olin. He's the guy I'm really interested in because he was the hardcore Baldur's Gate dude. He was hardcore Dragon Age 1. And he left in 2018 to make his own studio. He said he was retiring, but in fact, he went to go on and make the new sci-fi game that got Matthew McConaughey and a bunch of other talent. It's supposedly the next Mass Effect that he's working on. I can't remember the name of it. But David Gator left in 2016, and he never shuts up. Like, he's just constantly rambling on Blue Sky. Who cares? Chris Schlurf, he was a head writer on Mass Effect Andromeda, I think.
Oh, well, nothing lost there.
Yeah.
I think even mentioning that title is like a waste in itself.
I know, that's the funny thing. Like, when I was gonna criticize this video, I would have showed all the games post Dragon Age 2, or just Dragon Age 2 post. All the games that sucked, because they all sucked after that. And I don't mean to say that you can't enjoy Mass Effect 2 and 3 or Andromeda or whatever. You can, the gameplay is here and there, great. But they all sucked in their own right in many categories. And it's never gotten better. It's never gotten better since Mass Effect 1. And that's pretty shoddy. Mass Effect 1 gameplay is pretty janky.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Dragon Age Origins, fun game, but slow as hell gameplay, strategic, very, very. It's meant to slow down so you enjoy it, and that's the point. Everything else is just, look at this trend. Oh, shotguns are cool. Let's do that. Oh, let's no, we don't need that. We need good story, good characters, good narrative.
But that's kind of like what I miss about Dragon Age Origins, is that like it was doing its own thing. Like they were like having like accumulated all the knowledge that they gathered by working on those like IPs that they bought, like and worked on, like the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic series, Jade's Empire and so on. Like that was the Lara is also like something that they were doing their own thing. That layer that just did this garbage. like starting from Mass Effect 2, the ammo system and such.
Oh yeah, it's funny that BioWare is trying to compete with all these bigger titles that have come out years before. Like
every single time they're making a worse product.
And it can't even, like, look at Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate set a new standard. And everyone should be like, oh my God, we should be doing Baldur's Gate because Baldur's Gate was inspired by BioWare. It came from BioWare. So great. They bought the license. They did their own thing. And wow, they did a better job than BioWare. Hey, BioWare, here's your opportunity. Do a better job than Larian. And what did we get? We got this crazy ramsackled version of whatever the hell Dragon Age was supposed to be over the years because the project changed so many times. They didn't know what to do. And the people started leaving back in, again, after 2012, same year as Mass Effect 3 came out, the doctors left, the founders of the company. That's when you know something's going to go wrong. When the founders of a company get bought out or decide to leave, something's up. I've seen that with at least 2 other companies I've worked at, and there's reasons for that. That could be good, it could be bad. Most cases, it's bad. So
certainly the direction wasn't there anymore. For a long time.
You could argue the quality is another story because look at Dragon Age 2. That's a game everyone doesn't totally love and doesn't totally hate. There's things to like and things to dislike. And that was pumped out so fast, which is very different than how they made Dragon Age and as well as Mass Effect. Those games took a long, long time to make. And they call it BioWare magic, where they cram everything together and get it going. I guess you could say they did BioWare magic just for Dragon Age 2, but that was all they did. They didn't have time to pontificate and change things and maybe we'll redesign. No, they had no time. They pumped it out. It came a year out before Mass Effect 3. And you're like, holy shit, they came out with so many games between Dragon Age 2, and Mass Effect 2. It was just like boom, boom, boom. And that was when, when 3 came out, that was it. Like there was nothing else that came at it after the fact that a fan, meaning a fan who appreciates the narrative, goes, wow, I at least I got something out of it outside of the ending of Mass Effect 3, of course. So when Inquisition came out, we're like, ugh, at least there's a game there, but it's a big game, so you got some of your money's worth. But Jesus, that story was the dumbest plots I've ever seen with a Saturday morning cartoon villain. We call him Corey the Crackhead. He was just so stupid. He lost every battle. The best part of the game was when he actually partially won, which was the Battle of Haven, and everything else after that was trash. And Anthem was trash. Andromeda was trash. Veilguard, I don't even know what it is. It's a polished piece of trash. I can't tell you.
Anthem was like pushed under the rug really fast. Like that was just incredible. Like how much money they burned away for Anthem, only for it to be like it's instantly hauled.
Yeah,
by the time
and that was Casey's. That was Casey's golden project. That was his thing. That was his baby, and it failed. So he left. I was like, "Yep, that makes sense. You should leave, Casey. You didn't do a good job." And he did.
I thought Mass Effect should have been Casey's, baby, but he didn't care about that one either. So
they upgraded him. He went from the director of the game to the freaking director of the company. So it's okay. Good for you. Yeah,
I wish when I failed miserably, I got promoted.
Yeah, it's great.
Instead of a P40 and told to find another job.
That's the problem with you, Hawk. You're doing your job too well. Maybe you should just roll the barrels next time.
Just attack one of the customers,
You can't have a fine IPA from that.
Just drive into that orphanage once in a while. Really?
All right, we spent our 10 minutes. Let's get on with the video.
Yeah.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like "Your IU Cruelty"? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game.
Okay.
Now I'm going to be clear about something.
Mark, go ahead.
I'm not saying...
Oh, sorry, I was trying to pause at the same time. But yeah, I think when I pay for a product, especially like, let's go with like a restaurant example. Like I pay like $100 for like dinner for 2. And I can clearly see that the steak that I ordered was not medium rare. Instead, it was well done. It was swimming in ketchup, and it was not the thing that I ordered. Then I think I have the right to complain. And if they feel that it's cruel, then so be it. I don't care. I'm just gonna like state like this is not what I got, and this is exactly like my problem with it. And I think like trying to push it that you're trying to speak too negatively about the subject. It's just like trying to push away the criticism and just like trying to like put you in that corner that, well, maybe you were too harsh on them. Like they are just people too, you know. But who cares? Like I need to state like what was wrong with it at the same time. Like last year I bought the Persona 3 Reload, which is just the remake of Persona 3, for $70, and I felt like it was a waste of money because I have played through that game already. But my issue was that like a few months after that, they have gave out like a trailer that they're gonna release the answer as well, which was already like par of Fez.
Yeah.
For the same price. I think like it was $60 when it came out, like the two bundled together. So I felt kind of ripped off because it didn't come with the game. I bought like I pre-ordered the game at first, so I was expecting that it would become like a free DLC or something. No, they asked for like an extra $30 just for the answer, which isn't even that long in itself. And I felt like $100 is kind of a rip-off for something that just Unreal 4 remake of the game.
Oh yeah, I remember back in the day on the BioWare social forum, there were all kinds of complaints about the ending of Mass Effect 3. And there were all kinds of people, saying all kinds of things. And even Mark in this video will get to that not that topic, but he'll get to the point of that they spent a lot of time reading all the comments. And not once did any of these moderators or anyone answer my emails, because I was saying, listen, guys, you guys are really screwing the fans over. And their response, and at least they gave a response, was the extended cut, which was free. So they did some work. But
yeah, that seems about fair.
But what they did was they screwed themselves even further because they were stuck. So they might have polished some turds here and there to make it more palatable, but they ultimately shot themselves in the foot again. And we were expecting a change to the ending. All they did was add stuff. They just added more stuff, which, if you guys remember the ending, every single word from the Star Child drove you insane. It made no sense.
Like all the endings are just the same. They're just different colors.
Yeah, they took the keys and they jingled in front of you, and you went, dude, that's a bunch of keys. And they say, well, whoa, we're gonna fix that. Here's a bigger set of keys. We're gonna jingle more. It's like,
no, Smud, it's not even that. They took the same set of keys and added a really terrible, like, Lego keyring on, and then said, look, it's better now, isn't it? And you're like, no, that's still the same set of keys.
I remember a fan at one point, I knew him personally, and he was complaining that like, wow, like BioWare is getting like so harsh criticism after Mass Effect 3. I said like, yeah, it seems like almost everyone who was waiting for this ending was disappointed by it. And he said like, wow, all these gamers are entitled. Like, how dare they complain about it? And how they demand like a different ending? Like that is like such
when it first came out, I think everyone actually asked, "Where is the ending?"
Where is the ending? Like this isn't the ending.
I think people forget how rushed the original ending was. As in, the game just stopped. That was it. It just nothing got answered.
You got the
it just stopped.
You got the message at the end, the last part of the whole ending after the credits rolled. Please wait for more DLC from the Adventures of Commander Shepard. And you're like, what? Excuse me?
That was the original ending?
That was, you get this little pop-up, like one of their dialogue boxes with an OK, and it said, thank you for, you're a legend among the blah, blah, blah. Like some really cheesy ending that you would have gotten in the 80s.
Your story has ascended to legend. You can continue to build this legend with further purchases of DLC.
That sounds like kind of like Easter egg that you find in the original Deus Ex, that you have to like grab like a flagpole and then flush the toilet and you get like different ending.
So anyway, back to what Mark was saying. Mark, you do not speak for people. If you're gonna,
I'm sorry.
Well, not you, Mark. Mark Darrah. He's trumpeting up the line of, "Hey, Americans, you're not allowed to say what you want because the First Amendment doesn't count because I'm here," or some other nonsense. Obviously, he's Canadian, so it's the second part of the Charter of Canadian Rights and Freedoms. And you're like, even then, it says I have a right to freedom of expression, religion, belief, all this jazz. I can go to Mark Darrah's Blue Sky and tell him to fuck off. I have every right to do that.
You know what I find funny as well? Do you remember that website, Hold the Line?
Yep.
That turned up. They sent all those cupcakes
to
BioWare, and they were really nice. But I was part of it. Actually, I was quite a big member of it. And so when people go like, "Oh yeah, these BioWare fans, they're so terrible," and we're like, we sent cupcakes and nice messages to BioWare and stuff. How we mean, but BioWare, like you said, just dug themselves into this hole. And I think since 2013, they've just been, well, the fans didn't like this thing, so we now no longer like the fans.
Well, in regards to that,
like for the last decade,
in regards to that, I remember the story. They did not accept the cupcakes. They donated them.
They gave them to home, yeah.
And I'm like, that's nice and all, but if I'm a developer and my fans hate something I did so much, and they gave
that they send you cupcakes.
They sent me a cake or food in the nicest way possible. I would sit down and I would grudgingly eat as many of those things as I could, because this is where I screwed up. I have to realize how I screwed up so badly. I gotta own that. So yeah, it's nice to, they give us cake. That's good. No. You're missing the message here, BioWare. You screwed up. They're trying to help you. This is the nicest way they can do it.
Do you think it was their pride that they didn't want to accept any criticism from the fans? Because how could they know?
100%.
It depends.
Casey Hudson and Matt Walters are the most ego-driven people you could ever meet.
It really depends, because obviously you put a lot of blame on Casey and Mac and the time constraints they had and all this jazz.
No, I do, because they literally wrote it on one piece of paper. I always bring it back. It was one piece of paper. They even, I think Patrick Weeks, before he went crazy, wrote up saying, "Yeah, we were just kept in the dark of everything when it came to the ending."
That's true.
They went into a room and did it all in like one afternoon.
Yeah, and it's one of the arguments was, they were on a schedule. It's like, yes, they were, but they could have always asked for more time because they saw they pushed the date back, and they finally set it on the March the 6th, 2012 as the date. But they could have had another year. They could have they could have added Rachni and had a whole Rachni arc. That would have been nice. Mm-hmm. Make our choice matter. That would have been great.
You think the way that they said in 2007 that Mass Effect was intended as a trilogy, they got all this end stuff sorted years ago.
Well, that proves that they didn't figure this out.
Yeah.
And, Drew Karpyshyn was pushed to the side. Mac Walters was uplifted for some reason. And all these other really good writers, the guy who wrote Legion, who was like, no, Legion has to be a certain way. And then people are like, well, what if he has a favoritism towards Shepard? It's like, okay, then what? They did nothing with that whole element of him attaching armor to his body. You're like, that's a whole visual cue for the first trailer of Mass Effect 2, and you did nothing with it. Like, if you're gonna argue with the writer on his that guy was a really good, was it Chris Schlurf? I can't remember his name. No, it wasn't Schlurf. It was another Chris. I'll tip my tongue. Anyway, he was like, the Geth have to be a certain way. They are robots. They don't give a shit about organic issues. They think they're completely alien. Great, let's go with that. People argued against that. No, we got to give them some humanity. It's like, and that's why we got Mass Effect 3. They're all freaking aliens. They're just normal people. It's like, what? Anyway, and they decided.
What was the point?
They just neutered the Geth. Geth were awesome in Mass Effect 1. The second one, it was like, what the hell? Anyway, they gave the whole thing. They screwed the Geth in the second game, Legion specifically. You only get him for 2 missions or 3 missions, and he has this whole attachment to Shepard, and there's no development at all. Why? He just likes Shepard. No talk about it. No
smut. There was a hole.
Oh yeah, and they had a great little one of the best choices in the game about whether to kill the Geth or rewrite them, the heretics. What does that amount to? About 50 difference in EMP.
50 EMS points.
Yeah, about 300 to 350. That's the difference. You're like, what? Excuse me? So they really did not know what to do. They had this gigantic hot potato, and they said, we got to get this done in 3 years or whatever it was, and they didn't know how to do it. So they enumerated all the choices, screwed you over. They gave you 2 arcs, which was Tuchanka, and the one with the Korans. Rannoch, yeah. Which were arguably done well. I'm not going to say they were bad, but you had 15 other choices that really mattered that they skipped. And the Rachni was the first big one in Mass Effect 1. They screwed over the whole thing with the Council. They screwed the whole thing with the Destiny Ascension. The colony on Zeus Hope. Like everything, just forget about it. Yeah, we don't care.
Fuck them.
Yeah. Anyway. We'll have a big tangent there. Let's keep going.
Some little BioWare history.
Yeah.
I think I skipped ahead like a 5 seconds.
To like the thing you bought. I'm not that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing.
Wait. You just said we can't. It's not nice. But now we can? Okay, so are you for freedom of speech or what? What are you, Mark?
But you can complain about it, but you can't be cruel, Now,
yeah, it's like
why is considered cruel criticism?
you don't have the right to argue, but you can complain about it. So wait a second, what are you talking about?
Yeah, a second.
You can have whatever towards a game, even if that opinion is stupid and wrong. You are entitled to that opinion, and to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought. You paid 70 of your own dollars.
By the way, this is completely off topic, but is he looking to the side to read the script?
I think it's just his eyes. He might have a lazy eye.
A lazy eye, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you, and you're angry about that. That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it.
Okay.
And you're entitled to express that anger in certain channels.
Okay. Wait.
If you are mad at that,
sorry. I'm just going to say he put an edit to say there, and I'm a bit like, I don't think you agree with what you're saying right now.
I feel like he has multiple personality disorder or something.
He's got this long tangent, and I'm just waiting for the but.
Yeah, so you can be angry. You're entitled to your anger. You can express yourself however you want in certain channels. I don't know what that means.
Even if your opinion is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, whatever. You can be angry. You can be sad. You can be articulate. Great. Obviously, I wouldn't go to church and start rambling on about how much I hate, I don't know, the ending to Farscape or something. That'd be stupid. I would use the appropriate channel. But that
say a Hail Mary every single plot point.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, Mark, we're not stupid. We don't just start rambling on the street like a lunatic. But what do you mean by certain channels, Marks? Well, I'm quite sure the Charter of Rights and Freedoms allow me to express myself wherever. So what is your problem here?
Next Sunday, Smart, we're going to go to the church with the rosary, and every single like how you could say like, well, our Father in heaven, I'm sorry for watching Mass Effect videos.
I'm so sorry. I'll Hail Mary for everyone who got fired in the Veilguard.
BioWare.
I hope they find peace wherever they are.
I hope they can serve the Lord as you wished.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the.
What does that mean? Express your anger to? Is that like email them and like at hr@ubisoft.com or like info?
Or does it just mean
is this about like
in front of the studio?
Is this about like Assassin's Creed?
I'm not sure. I don't know. What are you talking about? Attack the company.
I thought like it's gonna be about Veilguard.
Are we like going into like the Ubisoft headquarters and knocking? Can I talk to anyone in the studio?
Hello, Ubisoft. Why did you do this?
Bonjour. May I speak to the Frenchman here?
Hello, Ubisoft. Can you stop making games?
Oh.
Hello, someone is in the office. Oh, they want to see about the black man in Japan.
Oh.
Oh, Philippe, get him out of here. He's being cruel.
Anyway.
Studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel.
You cross the line when you enter the Ubisoft building.
You enter a Ubisoft building with an AK-47 loaded.
like Charlie Hebdo or whatever the fuck that company.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, but like these people's definition of cruelty is usually like saying, "Hey, you know that thing you made was pretty bad." They're like, "Oh my god, look how cruel this person is."
But it is I'm sorry for going on a tangent, but I remember there was one ex-BioWare member. So basically, like what that person was responsible for are the cinematics for the Mass Effect games and the early Dragon Age games. And basically, what that person did was that it was so traumatizing for him. It was him at the time. The guy transitioned after like 10 years because said like, well, the experience was so bad. Everyone was calling those games failures. Dragon Age 2, the Mass Effect 3. So I felt like I was in a corner. And then it's like, what he did is that he made like gay romance FMVs or whatever the fuck those are called. Like music videos. Yeah, machinimas, yes. Like where all the characters from Mass Effect or like the Dragon Age game, like they made out, like in a gay way. But that is the kind of like people that you deal with would say like it's too cruel to criticize them. But it's just true. Like I feel like these signs were there like at Mass Effect 2. Like people were writing very passionately to them that like this sucks. This is gonna fail. Like this isn't leading anywhere. It's just like they prideful asses just didn't listen to any of them.
Well, I remember back in the BioWare social forums, and
before you got banned.
Yeah, that was like God a long time ago. And we were all making lists of the choices in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 and what actually happened in the story of Mass Effect 2. And there's barely anything that occurred that moved the story forward. And we were like, okay, was this just for fun? Like, did you just guys make a game because you had to make a game? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because obviously people liked it and it was fun to play and you could argue the gameplay was better. But you didn't do the thing that Mass Effect is supposed to do, which is continue the story in a practical, logical way that anyone who writes this kind of, like if you were a science fiction author and you say, I'm going to plan out a trilogy and I'm going to have, forget the choices, that's too complicated. You're going to have, some sort of conflict. You discover a big secret and you have to like logically follow, how do we solve a big galactic wide problem? How would that what would you put your efforts into? Like, okay, you'd go to your government, you petition, you would talk to all these people who have power in industry. You'd say, okay, how do we kill a gigantic spaceship? How do we blow it up? How do we get around this technology? You would do logical things like that. You wouldn't just go, let's just fight some mooks who are big bugs. And that was it. That was all you did. You went around collecting people to fight some bugs. That made no sense. And you had no idea you were going to fight a big giant Terminator dude at the end. You didn't know what to expect, but you got some people because you needed people. And the guy in charge told you to get some people, so you got some people. And it's like, they don't trust you, Shepard. You got to help them out with their personal problems. It's like, no, they're here. They trust me. They know what they're in for. I don't need to help them out with their daddy issues. What is this, a therapy ship? No, this is a serious mission, dude. No.
Let's do the daddy issues plot.
Yeah, let's do daddy issues for everyone. It's like, why?
Every BioWare game needs to have like one of those side quests.
I don't mind one or two, but not everyone. And this was.
I will be honest with you, especially with BioWare. They literally create the same after the setup of Mass Effect 2. They just repeat that all the time with their games. everything just seems to be grab a load of random people, solve daddy issues. Oh yeah, there's a main plot, whatever. And that just seems to be every single game they make.
Right. And the idea was the choices you make mattered. So when they got in, I hate to say this, Armando Troisi, he's a really great cinematic designer for Mass Effect 2. He made all those awesome camera angles and how, let's say, the interrogation scene with Thane, like that was really done very, very well. It was all cinematic and interactive. And you could say, this is really fun. And I agree. It is really, really well done. But it didn't amount to anything because I don't care how cinematics, I don't care how it looks exactly. Obviously I care about the quality, so looking is certainly an issue. But I care about the story. I care about where this is going. Because, again, we're talking about a galactic-wide threat. It's great for 20 minutes. You get to play a cop and be all badass and hunt someone down and whatever. That's cool. I think if they did that more in the other games or they made a game just about being a cop on the Citadel, that'd be fun. I think people would love it. But that's what people were looking forward toward on top of the galactic-wide threat and being taken seriously. And it was never taken seriously. It was just, let's have fun. The same with Citadel DLC. Let's have fun. You're like, yes, this is fun. It's also very, very stupid. It's very...
It's almost like what we did with Dragon Age. Dragon Age 2 is just, let's just mess around. Oh, and then there's a main plot bit. And you're like, okay, why are all these games just let's just mess around?
Let's just blow some shit up.
See, that's the great thing about Dragon Age is they could have gotten away with it because there was no trilogy.
Dragon Age 2 was the perfect game they could have done it in, and they messed it up. And they're like, well, let's just keep retrying constantly. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, they do it in Mass Effect 3 when it's meant to be the Reapers here, and then you go shooting Garrus. You're like, hundreds of thousands of people are dying at this very second. It's like, have you thought about having steak with Caden? Hundreds of thousands of people are dying. Planets are being glassed.
Like, if Dragon Age 2 have ended with like DLC, I would have been so happy. Like that DLC was so good.
What Legacy? Yeah.
Yeah, Legacy.
That's the argument for Mass Effect 2 as well as Dragon Age 2. The DLC, what you need bridging DLC because the story went nowhere. So they had to do something. They thought, well, we didn't expect where we would write the third story, so we have to connect it somehow. It's like, oh yeah, we got to get a villain for Inquisition. Let's make that. And they did it again in Inquisition. They didn't know what the hell the ending was. Oh, we got to get a villain for the next. Oh, we'll make it one of our guys. It's like, what? Where did that's like one of the worst murder mystery stories I could think of. Where they just pull some random dude out of the list of suspects. Oh, he was the secret. He was the mastermind, but no one knows. And then
somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, and then we're going to make a little stupid side story called the Bridging DLC, where we have to go again. They did that in Inquisition.
You know the best thing about that was they made Bridging DLC for Mass Effect and then just ignored it completely.
All right, we got 2 super chats. We'll get on with the video. The Threadnought, thank you, sir. If you pay $70 for a fully cooked meal and you are given raw ingredients and feces on a plate, you have every right to complain about it. Exactly. And you have every right to punch that chef in the face. If someone literally serves you shit, it's like, sir, come here. What did you do? And if he's a chef of any like pride, he'd say, you, sir, get to smack me as hard as you want. I don't deserve to be a chef, or something along those lines. That is disgusting, and that is exactly what we got in many ways, especially with Mass Effect 3, but in many ways with BioWare games. And I don't care about the hype as much as I enjoyed the trailers. They have very good marketing. I care about what's there. Anyway, one more. Tall Person. Yeah, it's a good name. Hey, Tall Person. Everybody has been tearing this video apart today, and this disingenuous twit refused to say anything about the cruelty from developers. Oh, that
is so well said.
Watch the build up from the release of Veilguard and all the interviews they did, all the people they talked to, and it's like, oh, this is great. And then as soon as it came out, everyone's like, well, I thought everyone was gonna love it. It's like, excuse me. Did you have any QA?
Someone mentioned on X about how game developers always get upset at the slightest criticism, but then go out of their way to be like the worst people possible, and like just insult everyone left, right, and centre. But minute you go, your game's not that great, they cry and then say, "Look how everyone's bullying us." And you're like, "Oh right, okay, these are the people we're dealing with."
Especially if you take like Naughty Dog, like the modern day Naughty Dog and Last of Us 2, for example. Like, you guys remember when some of those stuff leaked about the main antagonist beating the shit out of the previous game's antagonist, and then someone made like an animation about that. So it didn't like use any content from the actual leak, and Naughty Dog went so far that they got Sony to copyright strike the guy's channel, and they removed the video from his YouTube channel, and like he couldn't get it back up until the game released. Like that is cruel. Like to that point.
I remember there was at least 2 channels dedicated just to The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
And one of them was this black dude, and he was crying on the first trailer that came out. Like, he was crying, and there were devs in the chat, watching this guy. And I think I made a comment on that. I can't remember when we covered it. And he's like, "Oh, these people are being goofy," because we covered his reaction video. It's like, dude, you're a 19-year-old man crying at the sequel to The Last of Us. And it was one of those ones with the rain where we see Ellie and she's playing the guitar, and I think what's her name, the female antagonist is strung up and about to be crucified or whatever. It's like there's nothing really dramatic about it. It's just Ellie. It's like, oh, look, it's Ellie. She's playing the guitar. Like,
yeah, that's like the finale of the game, I believe.
That was like a marketing rendition of.
Oh yeah.
Of that, and no one knew the context, so it's just like this girl being strung up. And you're like, okay, whatever. But he was crying. Like, this is crazy. It's like, what do you... I mean, I guess you really, really liked the first game, but, it felt so fake because there were devs in the chat, and he was like, oh my God, I'm getting so much attention, or whatever it was. I would love to get the devs' attention back in the heyday of Mass Effect 2 before the extended cut came out. I was like, hey, what the... I put it in the nicest way possible, of course, but I'd be like, what exactly are you trying to do here? With this,
it's so clear that like those devs, like they don't care about like how you gonna treat it in like a critical way. Like they just want to be showered by like this like free advertisement for what's worth it, really. Like, because they aren't really like approaching it in a critical way. They're just praising it like fucking seal. Like it's the same thing as like the guy with the glasses who cried at the what was that movie's name? Like Star Wars Episode 9 trailer. Yeah. And like he still cries his eyes out like at every single AAA movie productions trailer. It just doesn't feel like it's a human being. Like he's just gonna like crap at like new product every single time, no matter what he sees.
No, but remember that guy who cried at giraffes?
Really?
We covered
giraffes.
Yeah, we covered him one time. He went about. He said about something like, "The Last of Us is like such an amazing game. I cried at giraffes," and we all just went, "Okay, what the fuck is this?" Do you remember that?
Jesus,
that was so long ago. I just like remove all those bad memories about Last of Us.
Yeah, well.
Like it's already bad enough that in 2 months the second season is coming out.
Oh geez, don't remind me about they finally got a production budget for Fallout. So
no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All our beloved things just get destroyed in adaptations. It's great. Anyway, back to Mark Darrah.
So why am I saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70? Let's walk through it. One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing?
Yes, Mark. Yes, we can be cruel. It is inherently normal for someone who is partaking in media who now owns said media, which is designed to make you feel things like drama or comedy or whatever the media does, to then take all that emotion when it is no longer comedic or dramatic or makes no sense, and when you are lied to, and you say, hey, BioWare, you said this is going to be a trilogy. You said this was going to be this big Choices Matter thing.
You said this is going to be Dreadwolf.
Oh, yeah. Things are going to make sense. Things are going to be good. Things are going to get better. They should build
For a whole
upon.
decade, you said it's going to be Dreadwolf.
It's gonna get better and better. And obviously the Veilguard was a huge letdown of whatever continuation from Inquisition was. And I don't even have to play the game to know that. I can just talk to people who've already played it or look at the reviews, look at the sales figures. It was not what was advertised. And I don't care. I said this in his comments. I do not care how this sausage is made. I will swear at all of you guys. You didn't do your jobs right. You all suck. Oh, it's going to be, it wasn't the dev. It's like, I don't care. That's not my problem. I pay money for a thing. I expect the thing. So, and obviously there's moving parts. You know, one guy could have a bad day. One guy have a bad take. How many times did the Inquisition, not Inquisition, how many times did Veilguard change its name and get different people involved? At least 3?
How many times did it change the model? Like what kind of game they're developing?
Yeah.
Because it went from what is that model? Like open, not open world, but
on open online multiplayer.
Open online multiplayer. Basically like an MMO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
the version of Veilguard we got only started development in 2022.
Yeah, when the transvestite has taken over.
Yeah.
Not doing anything since Sims 3 DLC. That is such a pathetic shit. Like I still can't believe they dug him out of the basement. And they said wake up. It's time to make a video game after 9 years.
It's like a scene.
You're gonna be the director now. Casey Hudson is no longer with us. Casey Hudson is fired.
Well, you got to remember, Casey left in 2020. Mark Darrah left in 2020. Mac Walters left in 2021. And that's when, even Kirby, Mary Kirby, she worked on Origins. She left in 2023. So obviously something was going on between 2021 and 2023.
A sinking ship, that is what's going on.
Yeah, even Ben, what was his name? Jellinan? He was the Dragon Age producer and the writer. He went to join Humanoid Studios, which I think is Casey's company that got shut down. So, what was her name? Oh, Sylvia. That was her name. She was a senior writer at BioWare. She also left. Well, she left last year. But, there's very few people left in BioWare that are from the original 20.
Was it in 2022? They had a staff number of 250.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And now they've got 72.
Yeah, they cut 50 jobs. And they cut another 100 last year or 2 years ago.
But they barely kept anybody.
Yeah,
and who they have kept are all new people who have done.
But that's normal.
Nothing.
When you have bad sales, you cut jobs. That's normal.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying. Oh no, it's so out of the blue. I'm just like, if we're expecting people to stay at the studio, I mean, they've been really poor, so of course they're going to lose tons of people.
All right. Here's the thread now.
Get out of there.
For another 5, thank you, sir. Dragon Age without blood magic is nothing. Nothing would have happened at any point in the entire series plot without the cruelty of blood magic. It's certainly one of those components that just sort of is like, oh, that's illegal, isn't it? It's like, yeah, but we still use it. It's still around.
Yeah, but Smud, it's just the ancient elves. The ancient elves did everything. Every single thing in Dragon Age is done by the ancient elves, specifically Solus and those 2 new elves.
And they're all in the fade.
Nowhere.
All magic comes from dreams or the dream world.
No, it just everything. Like once I read up on it and saw people's the lore, I was like, so everything's elves. It's like, yes, there's no mysteries. Every single thing is ancient elves. You're like, yes, right. Well, what's the point of anything? what's what's the point of this series?
So once the elves are dead, like then Dragon Age is pretty much like the same universe as Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, there's no going back to it. It's I mentioned in the video that I did. They've not only they've destroyed this entire series because they thought somehow they could reboot it. The only thing they've done is if the series ever gets picked up again by any company, they can be retconned out of existence. Like Veilguard can just be like got rid of.
Like craziest thing is like it is like such a far cry from Origins. Like the kind of like route that they took, just to arrive at Veilguard. Because like what was like baffling to me is that Inquisition was supposedly a successful game. I don't get it. How? Like how did it get like massive normie appeal? Was there like no other game in 2014?
Well, the argument
there wasn't.
was people were playing The Witcher 3, and then the argument became, well, The Witcher is its own thing, and you could have this great like non-party story-driven game, and then you could have Dragon Age, which is 3-character party-driven story game, and you're like, okay, you could make that, it's big open world, whatever. You could make that argument, but that's a really high standard. And Witcher 3 was just obviously was a game of a generation, or the game of the decade at least. And compared to Dragon Age Inquisition, is like, no, it doesn't even come close. But people like Dragon Age, people like the world of Thedas. So if all they want is just to putz around and have fun in the setting, which a lot of people do, and that's why we talked about if they were to make a sequel or Mass Effect 4, what would they do? They do a prequel. They do something like Citadel Knights or Kirkwall Knights for Dragon Age. They do this fun little thing and just keep doing that and just keep making fun games in that universe because people want to be in the world. And that's what effectively what Dragon Age or Mass Effect 2 was, because there's no real reason for Mass Effect 2 to exist. None. The whole thing with the Citadel and the council, it's a 10-minute meeting, and you go to the Citadel and everyone gives you may get your Spectre status back. It makes no difference to anything. And that's that. Who you saved in Mass Effect 1, who cares? Doesn't matter. One or the other. Makes no difference. How about the Rachni? Nope. Some person may say hello. Hey, I represent the Rachni. Wait, we'll see you in the next game. Ooh, okay. It's everything's being held off because they don't know what to do. They don't want to have too many splits in the forks in the road because they gotta code that. They gotta make more choices available to the gamer. And they realize that's all time and effort to make that have value. And they couldn't do it. And they could have asked for more time. EA had no problem. They said, you need more time, we'll give you more time. And they didn't do it. So, and again, I got another pop-up on my phone. Make your complaints heard about bad games, says Dragon Age veteran Mark Darrah. But your $70 doesn't buy you Cruelty. Okay. Oh, dear. Anyway, let's keep going. we barely cut through this video. We're just talking over everything. That's funny.
Well, the discussion is way more interesting than him just repeating the same words.
I highly doubt Mark has gone to university and learned anything about the law or why people go to war or what freedom of speech is. Like, it's just so baffling that he would make a video like this.
Do a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to...
Oh my god, I just made like a realization. He sounds almost like Linkara. Like, he has an even bigger lisp.
Yeah, well. He does look a bit crazy, but, he's getting older. We're all getting older.
Does he have a fedora hat? He's going to talk about the Lightbringer.
He's always looked like this, kind of unshaven. That's fine. Good for him.
To cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like. Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it.
So this is the second time he's within, less than 2 minutes. It's okay to be angry, but you can't cause harm to other people. It's like who has assaulted anyone at BioWare?
Okay, Smud, put down the AK-47. I'm not going to say it again. Please, put it down along with the TNT.
Imagine this. Who's actually done any harm to people? But look at him. Look how mutilated all this BioWare staff is. Look, even the director's lost his manly parts. What do you mean he's done it to himself?
Maybe next time, instead of sending 300 cupcakes, you could send like, I don't know, 150
pair of balls.
150 kilograms of like grass-fed beef or something. I don't know. Give him some protein. Give them some.
I just have this feeling that Mark Darrah is just such an old man that when he sees like the trans director, he's just like, my God, who did this to you?
Well, his current job, if you look at his LinkedIn, it says,
"Stop being cruel to this person."
It's kind of funny. So after he quit BioWare, in January 2021 to June 2022, it says taking a breath, and it says self-employed. So that means he's on vacation for that long. And then in 2022, yeah, in 2022,
did he add that to the LinkedIn?
That's his job title in LinkedIn. You can go right now and find it. And his current one is process consultant, self-employed from June 2022 to present. And I do not know what change management means or what triage means. I know what triage means in military terms, but not in software development. And I'm a software developer, so maybe that's a new thing.
Are all like the BioWare developers are this self-consumed idiots? I'm sorry, but
Can you imagine?
You can't make up shit like that.
Can you imagine on your LinkedIn? I'm finding myself for 4 years or whatever the shit you're gonna.
I'm breathing right now. I move away from the bike to breathe in.
Well, considering for years and years and years, all BioWare used to put up were tweets about how one person really liked trees, so they brought loads of plants in. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. Anyway, but the game.
that was the beginning of the downfall, like for like the social media accounts. Like that's when like everyone knew they fucked up.
These people were fucking morons.
That was the dog whistle that like, okay, if you want to stay at this company, like that half of you have to be castrated right now.
Anyway, we can't be cruel, so
Well, you have to remember that Mark Darrah is a programmer, so he's actually one of the less crazy people. So
he was one of the useful people.
Yeah, he actually made stuff. Yeah, as opposed to talk about it.
He's just decided to make himself look like a crazed homeless man. Then okay, that's all right then.
It was like guys, I'm already like having like this kind of like unshaved beard, and like he says like, okay, we're not gonna give you estrogen in those cupcakes. Fine.
Well, he's
you know what I'd have put?
Take a breather.
If I was Mark Darrah, if I was LinkedIn, midlife crisis, don't ask questions.
You got to remember, he is in Edmonton, Alberta. It's like -30 there, so maybe he's got some reasons to be, because you don't really cut your hair in the winter. So.
Oh no. Well, I've because the weather's getting better over here. I've had to trim off my winter fur, so I get to it.
Yeah, no, everyone's got to be presentable on camera, but Mark is, he doesn't care. That's fine.
He doesn't care.
Good for him.
I'll try next time, Smud.
Get to express the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person, when you celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line.
No. Mark, sir. First off, there is no line being crossed when I'm enjoying the fact that a business that has done poorly lays off people. That's normal. It's not even an argument.
I mean, just poorly, but like they personally insulted the fans, the people who paid money for that.
Well, he says the personal whatever of social media. It's like, did someone directly message you, Mark, and start mouthing off about Veilguard? Like, what are you talking about? And even if that's the case, who cares? Someone sent you a nasty email. I got nasty emails from that weirdo from years ago who still sends me emails. They go straight to my junk folder, and he keeps doing them. I don't care. It's just hilarious.
He is still doing that on Bears' channel. Like,
Oh yeah.
I just went to a past stream, and like 3 months ago, like it's just like telling us to like kill ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people get cruel. I get cruel letters every year through my mailbox, and I keep telling my parents to stop it. But yeah, I don't.
I'm sorry.
Also, can I just say something? The way he said when people personally climb in, and I thought, is he going to say climb through someone's window here or climb into the house? Oh no, climb into their private social media account. I'm like, you've phrased this very cleverly here. You've used certain wording.
If you go into his comments on this video, and I showed this in the private chat, he copy pastes this 4-sentence phrase, and that crawling into someone's personal social media feed is the third line. He always uses that. And I'm like, but he says this to everyone. But why are you crawling into someone's personal social media feed? First off, not everyone who wrote a comment on your comment section is crawling into someone's social media feed, Mark. Secondly, what is that? What is someone's personal social media feed? Is that like they have a personal social media and then they have a private social media or public social media? Like, what does that mean? And if
I think with how many times he uses that phrase, I think he's just a Linkin Park fan.
Oh yeah.
Crawling in.
This wood will not heal.
It's
I mean that is like the story for BioWare employee.
But is that a known thing? I've never heard of crawling into someone's personal social media feed as a thing.
How many times are you gonna say?
So whenever I hear that, I'm like, what is that? Like, Chris, like, what are you trying to say? Do you want like to root someone out and go, oh yeah, that was me, Mark. How would you know? It's like, no, dude. Like, is this a thing? Is this like?
Oh, look at you crawling into my social media feed. Like the dog you are.
These tweets will not heal. but seriously, I think like it's like the opposite is like more true. Like the times when you're the game developer and you have like a personal Twitter account, and then you tell it like, "Wow, I can't believe like this is happening again. I released like a fucking game again, and everyone is shitting on it. How could this be happening to me?" I feel like that is way more common. That,
I feel like
going to like the BioWare developer and like see like some family photos, and I'm just gonna comment on it that like, well, I think Mass Effect 2 sucked.
Yeah, I think the issue is a lot of these game developers, when it comes to social media, enjoy the positivity, but can't handle any negative. And I think that's the issue.
And that's the problem. That is like the core problem with like modern game development. Is that like if you have like even like slightly pushed to the negative, but you're like you're giving criticism, but you're not giving like free like any positive like that they can take away, that they just like constantly think like, okay, like you're just my enemy. You only want me to fail. You don't want me to succeed.
This is not even like the Marie Tran issue where, supposedly a bunch of bullies said mean things to her on Instagram and then she quit her account. At least she quit her account and it's no longer an issue.
It was never even confirmed that
exactly. We don't know.
People, yeah.
And in this case, Mark, you're not with the company anymore. If people want to hate on Veilguard because it's a bad game and they directly message the people on Twitter saying you suck, what is the problem here? I don't condone that action. I don't think it's very efficient because I've been on social media with BioWare before. It's pointless. But what is the problem exactly? Being cruel? Mark, you know what really sucks? When you walk outside your door. That's called life. Nature is really cruel in general. And if you get a luxury good like a game and you spend, $70, now it's $70, it used to be $60, $70 for something to make you less cruel, less, mean, and let you escape and have a good, and reset your spirit back to happy land, whatever you want to call that. I don't know what, term that people use. That's what we want. We want to go to this place that's magical. and memorable and special. We want to have stupid arguments about Tali and all the characters and why you like Caden so much over Ashley and why she may be a space racist. Like, that's fun. Those are silly arguments to have. That's the stuff.
It's like,
why we need to kill all the Batarians.
Exactly. That's fun.
It's almost like you get a plane ticket and you think you get in Hawaii, but instead you get Epstein Island, and you're like, oh,
Not again.
oh, this is the 14th time I've been here. Oh, Tom Hanks, how do you do it?
Oh dear.
Here comes Woody.
But this is one of these things where he's trying to police people's behavior. It's like, dude, we've gone through this. This is not Grand Theft Auto 3. You know, this is an old argument. You are not someone's granddaddy trying to teach the world this is the problem with Canada. I don't know if you guys have realized what's been going on in Canada the past few years or the past 10 years. It's this holier than thou attitude that the liberals, not just liberals, but just anyone. I've spoken to old women who always vote liberal and they don't even think about anything else. Oh my God, Trump is a bastard, blah, blah, blah. Are any different politician than the one that I vote for is a horrible person. You're like, well, why are they bad? And they give the dumbest reason. You're like, that's not even, like, do you realize how bad it's become? Our school system, our teachers, they're all teaching this weird, politically correct extremism.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to call it, communism and this and that, because we've talked about these things before. This is just me sharing my life. It's nauseating that people think they are your moral arbiter and they got to come. You should never talk like that to this. If my mother said that to me, that's a different story. If my parents said, hey, buddy, you got to listen to us, that's different. If my priest says something, different story. But random video game guy who's a programmer who made shitty games, who thinks that he knows better? No, dude, you might know better how that sausage was made. That's not what I'm arguing. I know the sausage was made poorly. It tastes like shit. I'm going to blame that little link in the sausage, and I don't care how it got there. And you do not get to tell me that I can call you names or whoever names, or my ire is directed in the wrong part. And he's going to make these stupid arguments like you should argue with the executives because they're the big boys. They can take it. And I'm like, okay, so you aren't a big boy? And the people beneath you are all children? Wait a second, Mark. That doesn't make any sense. It sounds like you have this thin skin and you don't want to get negative feedback because have you ever had a QA report on anything you've worked on? I'm quite sure if you're a programmer, you've gotten all them every week. At least I do. Every function I write has a QA report saying why is it good, why is it bad, and what was the function solving, and what's the affected outcome, and it didn't do everything. I have to go back and remake the program. Happens every week for me. So I've gotten really good at feedback and criticism. And it seems as if Mark is like this, if only we had the perfect life cycle in software development, and everyone should be nice to the programmers, and everyone should be nice to our weird, creepy directors who are changing their gender as the project went on. And okay, Mark, if you want to.
I've been in software development for a decade only, so I don't have as much experience as you, Smut, but I can tell that there's no such thing as a perfect environment. Like, you're gonna be criticized, no matter what. You're gonna do, and if we just avoid this kind of language where you might get your feelings hurt, then we just avoid progress as well. Because unless you get challenged in a way, then you will never succeed.
Yeah. See, with this, I think maybe this is an Edmonton thing. But when I would take my buddies out, or if I was a project lead, I would take my buddies out for a beer, and we would just hash everything out at the bar. And we'd swear, this guy wrote some bad code and blah, blah. It's like we get all our problems figured out, and then we'd be so clear-headed. Maybe it took 3 beers or whatever. We get so clear-headed, and we'd solve the problem in minutes. And we'd be like, yeah. And that's what I think Mark has never done. I don't think he's ever had that sort of camaraderie where it's like, hey, we gotta argue it out and get the shit out of our systems. and solve the
I
damn
love how
problem.
like Smud like looks at Mark and they instantly take away that. Oh well, he's probably not an alcoholic.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I would take him out to a bar, get him a beer. Hopefully, he drinks beer. I don't know what the hell he would drink. Get him to
He looks like more like a whiskey guy.
get him to drink, get him to relax, and say, "Hey, Mark, what is really going on?" Because you cannot possibly be telling your audience to be as good as you are, or to say, "Why can't you be better?" to people you disagree with. It's like, because you've made shit, Mark. When I make shit, and my boss tells me you screwed up, oh, I better pay the fuck attention because I'm gonna lose my job. I gotta fix that problem immediately because they're on a budget and the money doesn't come from nowhere. So I don't know what was going on. I think this is a weird attitude at BioWare that they just kept coasting and they kept getting money from EA.
Way too far.
And after 9 years of whatever the hell Dragon Age 4 was supposed to be, they just like, okay, this is it. And they polished the only thing they had left, which was the gameplay, without contemplating, is this any good? It plays very well.
Puzzles are just like laughable.
Yeah, if you have very little gameplay and you just sort of like, pump it up, like, okay, we're going to do a triple hit now, we're going to do a quadruple, whatever the gameplay loop is. And you're like, okay, this is really, really going to like optimize the shit out of this. And that was the great thing about Veilguard, is that it was optimized very well. It ran very, very well compared to all their other games, which was impressive because usually there's massive bugs, or there usually was massive bugs with what we saw before. So that tells me they had very little work to do outside of what was already there from what was made years ago, and they just cleaned all the shit out, and there was nothing left. There was no...
The exact same animations that they've been using for years. The finger point, thumb point, the arm fold. The only new one they put was the hands on the hips.
Oh, the hands on the hips. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
In Veilguard, it's every scene has hands on hips.
Yeah. Hands on hips. Hands. I feel like I'm at a play group with my daughter, teaching her like the hokey pokey or something.
It's very noticeable because everyone in Veilguard, well, unless you make like a really tall character, they all have these larger than necessary heads. So everyone stands out when they put the hands on hips, and you're like, why is this dwarf trying to puff up their chest? Like, it's just it's normal pose for all the characters. Anyway, back to generic ramblings about how to behave on social media with Mark Darrah.
Fundamentally, you should have more grace for other human beings.
No, Mark.
No, I have very little.
This is what I say
most human beings
about politicians. I hate them all equally. I think they're all evil. Now, when they do something good, that makes them 0.99 negative evil. It's just like, oh, you did something. You're still a politician. I still hate your guts, but you did something good. You lowered taxes or whatever. You paid off the debt, whatever it was, right?
Yeah, that's why I always say like when you vote for a politician, you're pretty much just voting for the lesser evil.
Yeah, it's the same with living in a certain country. Why would you move to Sweden as opposed to Italy? Well, it's cheaper and it's better opportunities, and you might argue the taxes are worse for all kinds of reasons, but it's the lesser of two evils. It's the same with women or men.
Yeah,
you have to make compromise. There's no perfect man. There's no perfect woman.
Hey, I have to live with the fact that I live so close to France. It's just something that happens. You've got to accept that France exists in this world.
It's I learned a new term. It's called multi-ethnical or multi-ethnicism, as opposed to multiculturalism. Multiculturalism does not work, but flavors of multi-ethnicism, which can involve multiculturalism, do. So what that means is, what that means is a melting pot, like a country where America is a melting pot.
Oh.
So
yes, melting pots are the greatest places to live. Nothing bad ever happens there. Good Lord.
In regards to acclimating to a new country, America, you have to learn the language, you have to learn the lingo, blah blah blah. So a guy from New York is going to sound differently than the guy from the South.
Does the word the Balkans mean anything to you, Smud?
Well, the thing is, I make that definition because in Canada, we don't have a melting pot. We just have, you're here. And you don't have to learn English or French. Somehow you could still get by. And I don't know how that works, but there's people I've known that are some of them are gone, that never learned English properly. And they never went to school for it. And Canada didn't care. So
to England, no one learns English here. There's people who lived there for 40 years and they still speak the same language they got off the boat on.
Exactly. And they make their own boroughs, they make their own little Italies, little Greek towns, Chinatowns, and that's it. They never acclimate. And that does not work. It works economically because there's all kinds of goods that you never had before, but culturally, no. So to me, again, this is Mark in his own little world of BioWare, which, again, Edmonton, Alberta, minus 30. People were working from home since COVID. And if you could work from home during the winters, which are 6 to 8 months long, you're going to stay home. You're going to be very sheltered. So I do not know what his QA cycle is like. And if we did, if I had access to the writer's room and to see how they put things together and how they argue, the way writers would, because I've been in lots of writers' rooms, I would figure out the problems very quickly. So, and people make the argument, we get new people all the time. There's multiple opinions. And it's like, what do you do when there's multiple opinions? You argue and you argue and you argue until someone wins. And that's how it works. It's always worked that way in writer circles. So I don't know what they did in BioWare, but obviously some executives were there, or Kate Hudson, or maybe not Darrah. Aside from him taking over from Hudson for Anthem, that would probably be the case. But in other cases with Mass Effect, it's like, well, how did you guys screw up so badly? Where's the plan? Where's the gigantic spreadsheet with all these diagrams of branching paths? Like, where was that? And they showed some of it, but where was it in the beginning? That should have been figured out, and they never did. So, anyway.
If you're not buying that, let's go on to point 2. You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor? It might be, but it could be a lot of other things too.
Okay, that's a very specific artistic element of the voice actor not doing a good job. Usually anything with audio or music, that's highly competitive. So I remember I made games back in school, and we spent thousands of dollars, whatever, and we were looking for a musician, and we found a good one. And every time we found a better one, it was cheaper, because they're a dime a dozen. To be honest, musicians are a dime a dozen. Voice acting is a little different with voice acting, because you want to find a specific voice, a certain style.
You know what? Like with voice acting, like I'm sorry to interrupt, but like what I find is that like games have like over the budget because like they are trying to hire actors that have like a very popular movie at the time. Like I think Invincible, like that cartoon is right now, is hiring like the Breaking Bad guys to voice characters, and it's really just like going over the budget, even though like the animation is still like really choppy. Going over the budget just for those things.
Years to voice someone in it, but they just keep saying no. You're like, well, don't want you any character you want. You're like, no.
Yeah,
I would say the same.
For the most part, the voice actor and the voice director, their job is done. They want quality. They know what quality is. The voice director could always ask for a second take or a third take. That's fine. And you could tell if the recording is like, they're using a shitty mic or whatever. That's very rarely the problem. It all boils down to the writer and what the writer wants and whether they can get it from the voice director. So I don't think I've ever criticized Mark Meer negatively, but I did say I prefer his Renegade options as opposed to Jennifer Hale's Paragon options. She just sounds, not because she's a great actor, because honestly, their delivery is so stiff it doesn't make a difference. But the annotation of her voice, because she's a female, Jennifer Hale sounds better as a Paragon, and because Mark Mear's a male, he sounds better as a Renegade. That's the simple part of it. Just the timbre of their voice. So I never really criticized their versions of either Paragon or Renegade Shepherd, but I always will criticize the story, and that falls back on the writers, not the audio booth. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's so funny when like voice actors like take it as like personal criticism. I think when the Killing Joke was animated and the voice actress for Bad Girl was like so pissed at people that like, well, I can't believe that people don't like this movie, and they said like, I like the comic book, but I felt like the animation wasn't doing it justice. And he quoted the guy just to send her fans after the person.
Huh.
That is just childish.
Yeah. So this sound like music, you could definitely criticize music, but for the most part, you're going to get a quality track of some kind. So
I think like he's trying to gaslight people that like this is like the kind of a thing that like gonna break the camel's back.
Yeah, he could use a better example. So
way better. Like how about the writing and the leading of the game itself?
Yeah.
Be the fault of the given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time and stuck with it.
Oh my god!
So if you go
we
and
can't
you
blame
start
anyone
attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be something else. Indeed.
Like last time I remember, like someone was like really harping on the voice delivery. It was like one of those like early PlayStation 1 games where voice acting was just like starting out really, but when it was like, going on like a higher budget things. And I think it was from a Mega Man game.
Oh.
The guy was like terrified that like the female character like he was really attached to just died in his arms, and he was like, "What am I fighting for?" Like the line delivery was just so cheesy. The line itself was cheesy, but like how he delivered it was just like so camp. So, like that was obviously like really bad writing and delivery. Because they were just like trying to like translate the scene from Japanese, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, so this.
But like of modern games, like BioWare games, like I think like Veilguard has a few of those. But like,
I mean, I talked to a few people about Mass Effect and Dragon Age and military maneuvers and. You know, what would you do in this scenario? What would happen if you didn't have enough ammunition? How would you swap? Like, would you use your secondary weapon? What would you call for an airstrike? All these other military maneuvers, and you realize, well, you know, you're in a 2-person or 3-person team or a 4-person team. It's very different than modern military operations. So you have to like suspend your disbelief to a very high degree and let some of it go. In other ways, it's sort of stupid how there's clips of ammo just lying around everywhere in Mass Effect 2, when the whole point was that this is limited ammo, and you gotta, you know, be better at shooting, but you're never gonna run out of ammo. So it kind of makes the whole point of collecting ammo useless, unless you really, really suck and you're running around the battlefield looking for ammo. I've seen a few players on that years ago, but you know, it's. They do things when they fixed Mass Effect 2. Like this is what we argue about. We argue about gameplay. We don't really care about music and sound and this and that. Like Jack Wall was, there was a quote from him a few days ago, and Casey Hudson didn't like him for whatever reason. So he didn't do Mass Effect 3, but Jack Wall was the sound of Mass Effect, and you know the Normandy music is very iconic to me. The heartbeat, which blend itself into the romance theme, which is again the heartbeat. The map exploration theme, Uncharted Worlds, iconic. It's that 80s synth vibe that was lost in the third game. And Clint Mansell was paid like, I don't know how much money to do one song. And that was it. And they announced this guy, oh, Clint Mansell, he's an epic musician. He's like, yeah, he is. And he made one song. And you're like, what? Where's Jack Wall? Where's my synths? Where's the Babylon 5 80s vibe? They even got rid of the filter in Mass Effect 2. Like, what are you doing? So all these things that we want, that we thought we were being sold on, aren't there. This is the stuff we complain about. And the story is number one. The gameplay, it was janky in Mass Effect 1. The argument is better in the second game. And the issue is almost the opposite in Dragon Age. It goes from slow, methodical planning and strategy and making sure your cooldowns and using them as fast as possible to, oh, now we're just jumping around and doing backflips. And our mages are now they're, mage enchanters, I think, or using shields and doing melee.
Knight
enchanters, yeah. And they were fun in Inquisition because they could do everything. And then in the fourth game, they're just freaking everyone's.
Well, then in Veilguard, everyone just has a little dagger that can stab everything.
Yeah, everyone's a thief, mage, warrior, AoE.
Cheese knife,
if
you will.
Yeah, everyone's doing the same thing. It's like, what's the point? And all the maneuvers are pointless anyway because if you don't set up a Mass Effect 3 chain command or chain combo to explode, to prime and explode, then all your maneuvers suck. So who cares? It's just like, was anyone paying attention? I don't know if
no,
they know what works in these games.
That they give up.
We don't complain about voice acting. It's kind of weird.
The line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer?
Yes.
Well, no, because why?
Fuck Mac Walters. No. Mac Walters needs to be put in his place after he made those horrible comic books that no writer in their sane mind would have ever produced and said, let me put my name to that. No. He needs to be reminded how much he sucks, how much those comics suck, how much Mass Effect 2 sucks, how much of a catastrophe Mass Effect 3 was. You should tell your writer, you suck. They are writers. They can take it. They're big boys. They write for a living. They can change their words with the delete key instantly. This is not hard to do. They should be joining writer circles every month because they're writers. That's what they do. They talk to other writers. They argue. They say, my dick is bigger than yours. Look how big my novel is. I'm going to make $1 million, blah, blah, blah. This is their egos are so high. They need to be brought down and constantly go through this cycle of expressing themselves and being broken down and being built back up. If you don't do that, you get shitty writers. So,
to answer this Mark Darrah's point, well, who should you blame? My response would be everybody then. They all sucked. The writer, the voice actor, the scene director, everyone. They all suck. I'll just attack each and every single one of them. Oh, don't bother! Don't be nasty to him. No. I'll just complain to everyone then.
Yeah,
tar them all with the same brush.
I remember a lot of the criticisms in the social forums were not just about gameplay. That was a lot of it, but there were a lot of people saying, "Well, what's going on with the Rachni? Why didn't we have that in the second game?" Or what's going on with our original hero in Origins? What happened to him? It's like, yeah, where is all this stuff? Where's the stuff we actually want to see? And you could enjoy the dialogue, especially in Dragon Age. Dialogue in Dragon Age was always good. It's always fun.
I would have loved if the whole excuse in the second game, it was like, for Eldon, that it's only a Mallow. It's a silly place anyway.
Yeah. Oh dear. There were so many things they could have done in Dragon Age that they just they didn't bother to capitalize on, and I don't know why, because they had pretty much the same guys from the first game with Gator. Gator was always there, and he could do it. Like whatever his ideas are these days, whatever he was working on was working. The problem was the plot. Things didn't make sense, and you can't have these big stories that are 50 hours long without making sense, and that's the problem. So getting to the plot points were fun because everyone was having a good time. When you got there, it was like a mini boss. Corey the crackhead has a mini boss. Okay. Oh, he dies. He lost again. That's number 4. Fourth plot point where Corey the crackhead loses. Like, okay.
How interesting.
Yeah. All right. Keep on going. Here's John Calabro. How you doing, John? Hey, what are your thoughts on the fact that Drew Karpyshyn, writer for Mass Effect 1 and co-writer of Mass Effect 2, was not there in Mass Effect 3? Mac Walters was Mass Effect 2 and 3. Well, Drew left in 2015, and he got sidelined in the second game, as you said, the co-writer. So, and not only him, but other writers as well. The guy who wrote Legion, for example. And I don't know. This is where I need access to the writer's room to see what was going on. And was Drew on contracts? Was he part-time? Was he going through negotiations? I don't know. That could have a lot to do with it. I think Mac was probably there most of the time. Like, if you just, as a writer, if you're always in the room and you're always giving ideas and you're getting along with people, you're going to be in the room a lot more. Usually,
I feel especially with Mac, he became very best friends with Casey Hudson, and I think that helped him out a lot.
Probably,
especially when Casey got more and more control over the vision of Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to figure out the psychology of Walters and Hudson because they're so, I wouldn't say nonchalant. I'd say they're just very like diplomatic when you see them in meetings. They're like, I don't know if that's proper to say Canadian. They're very chilled, but they're very nice. So it's like, okay, yeah, he's a Canadian guy. Yeah, okay. But that's not like I always remember the Deus Ex games, the remakes with was it Mary DeMarle? I think her name was, and she was just as nice. She was just as friendly, also Canadian. But holy hell, could she do some good plots? She could get that dialogue going, and of course the Deus Ex games had the dialogue systems in them as well, which were basically like a quarter, or sorry, quarter, maybe a fifth of the game outside of the exploration. So there, you can do a lot better with one clear vision. And in Mass Effect 2, you didn't have that. You had multiple writers doing multiple things disconnected from each other. And with Walters, because he was there from the beginning, and Drew was probably writing his books he was doing the Bane trilogy, I think. I don't know exactly when, but that was the basis for all these other things with Star Wars. So maybe he had other priorities. I don't know. But what they should have done is locked Drew in. They said, Drew, we're writing a story. We're writing a trilogy. You're the main writer. You have to stay here for the next 6-7 years or however long this takes. And they should have locked him in. They didn't, or at least they didn't have his ideas be the guy who, like, you need a head in the writer's room who calls the shots. And however that's done, maybe Drew was the head and he wasn't very good at it. I don't know. But you do need someone who says, okay, this is what we're doing, and let's do it. And then you send those ideas off to the devs, because obviously the devs, they don't have a zero say. They have some say. But if you can't do the thing that you ask them to, then obviously you have to change the writing. So that's an interesting thing, because, remember what was his name? There were two brothers that were programmers that worked with Mark, and they're still there at BioWare. Wozniak? No, something like that. Weird Polish name. Anyway,
Richard Stallman and Mike Wozniak, yeah.
It was something like that. I can't remember their names. And he was talking, this is one of the first Mass Effect 2 trailers, and he was talking about the planet sphere. Oh, it's like a little toy. You could spin it, and you could play games with it. And I'm like, and that's like a 5-second clip. And you're like, okay. So that was your idea. And I'm assuming it was. And that was one of the most boring, stupid, asinine silly things in Mass Effect 2, the mineral scanning mini games. So, just because you can do it doesn't mean it's fun or worthy. So with Drew, I don't know exactly what happened with him. And they should have locked him in. And something made him change his mind. And maybe because he is in a room full of writers, he was like, I can't work with these people. They're crazy or they're not worth my time. It's possible. Because again, writers' rooms, lots of egos. And the best ego comes out. Best ideas win, usually. But apparently not. So.
Not in the case of Mass Effect, or maybe.
Well, Dragon
got
Age,
like a less worse game.
With Dragon Age, it's a mixed bag because you have this really good dialogue and then you have these really decent plot points and then you have really bad plots. So it's like, oh, that's a good scene, and then it's just like, you're doing what now? Redcliffe happened to what? What happened to? Like, you had so many really cool options in the Origins game. That
a talking cat?
The outcomes, the dream sequences, who dies. It was great. And then Inquisition, Dragon Age 2, just stupid. Like, plot is not even worth talking about. Inquisition was all these characters. So you had, again, very Mass Effect 2-ish, which is why it sold so well. And they even marketed themselves like Mass Effect. I don't know if you guys remember Mass Effect 2's marketing blitz. They had for like 2 months, they had a video every 2 to 3 days. And I think the first one was Samara, and then Tali, and then Jack. And it was like, wow, these characters are awesome. And they had the trailers. And then at the end of all that, they had the big Mass Effect 2 trailer, which is still my favorite trailer of all time. And that launch trailer really, like, woo, they put a lot of money. And that came out during the Super Bowl. So it was this big deal. They rented out a booth at the Super Bowl for some dumb reason. I don't know why Canada BioWare has anything to do with the Super Bowl, but they spent the money.
If they played their card right, I mean, they could have been remembered for the good things.
They sold
this notorious.
game. They sold almost as much units as Inquisition did. So,
Mass Effect 2, you mean?
I think so. Yeah. So
it was huge.
Yeah.
People forget how big it was. Yeah.
It was huge, yeah. Even like people who didn't play RPGs decided to like play Mass Effect 2 as well.
Oh yeah, the avatar of video games. That's what was the quote from Time magazine.
Like, and the thing is, like, people like try to like forget, like, at least like BioWare is trying to like spread this, is that like female Shepard was like the face of Mass Effect.
Oh god, they did that with Mass Effect 3. And in reality, it's like, was it 8% of gamers played as female Shepard?
Most gamers play with default Shepard.
Exactly. They're men. They play as men.
Yeah.
Didn't we do like some advertisements of like voice actors behind the scenes and other like people talking about how great Mass Effect 2 is? And there was some random rapper, and I remember your video going, I don't even know who this guy is.
Game, his name. Was his name Game? I can't remember.
Yeah, but it's just some random rapper who you couldn't really understand what he was saying, going, yeah, you know it all right when you shoot some aliens, and your response was, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he's talking about Mass Effect.
His famous quote was, ME2 is me.
Get the urban market out of my video.
ME2 is me. Oh, dude, Mass Effect 2 is me. ME2. Like, what? And there was Wesley Crusher, and I'm like, oh, God. Go away, please. And Mark Darrah. Was Mark Darrah the guy who was talking about chopping up monkey parts? I can't remember. That was like 20 years ago.
Probably.
After
like 3.5 minutes of this video, I can't be sure that Mark Darrah was that guy.
I'm going to go watch it's called The Comedy of Errors, or The Marketing of Errors video I did a long time ago. Oh, God. The memories.
We're not going to finish this video, are we?
No.
Was it written this way because the writer had a
this can
specific
go on
thing
for a
they
while.
were trying to say? Maybe. Maybe it was written this way because there was incredibly tight time pressures due to other externalities on their time.
Writer's fault.
Maybe the direction of the game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months.
Writer's fault.
And you're just getting
You know what? Like, Smart. Like, I'm just gonna bring up like Knights of the Old Republic 2, because like Aten was a character that they added like in the final 3 months of the game, and it doesn't feel like it. Like as much as like what kind of asspose BioWare does with the games like nowadays. Like a lot of like plot points in like the Knights of the Old Republic 2 were like last minute decisions because they couldn't finish the game.
Yeah.
So they had to like go with the Kreia as the person behind all of this kind of plot.
Yeah,
even
they
though
cut-
like she was supposed to be like a secondary antagonist.
They cut a lot of content with Aten Rand, and he would have snuck up behind Kreia at the end and killed her or whatever, because he was a Jedi killer, right? So that was kind of like, oh, well, that's what he does. So naturally, you're going to use him in that capacity. But yeah, they rushed the ending, and even with the restored content mod or whatever the mod that people made,
Yeah, that's the one.
it still didn't have everything. It still didn't make like the ending, which still did not make much sense, and that's because this was the plot of a madwoman who wanted to kill the Force, and there was no answer to that. Like that's the funny thing. Like she had this crazy plan that she wanted to go back to Malachor 5 and recreate the whole bomb thing, and you're like, well, what'll that do? And that's kind of what I like, because she had no idea exactly what would happen, and we're going along with her because she's our companion, and she tricks us right at the end, and we have to go chase her. So there's a little bit of this is dumb, but at the same time she's crazy, so it's kind of like, all right, well, we got to stop her anyway.
It kind of like calls back to the beginning of the game. Like it's like connected. It's like like Chris Avila was like a madman, but like at least like, he had like a concise plan, like what he tries to deliver.
And
This is something that I don't see with BioWare.
And the
like,
great
they
thing,
just seem like 20 writers just stuck in a room, and they were like tossing shit on the wall and like trying to see like what's gonna stick.
well, the great thing about Chris Avallone is he played the first game, and he was playing the Xbox, and he slammed it on the ground. He's like, I can't believe, because he got to the point where the twist happens.
Yep,
and
Manon.
he could not believe they did that. And he's saying, I got to write this. So that he petitioned to was it Black Isle, or who was he working for at the time? I got to work on
Obsidian, yeah.
Yeah, I got to work on the second game. And he put everything on his head, as he usually does. And he made the most memorable Star Wars story ever. And this is a guy who just saw one little brilliance of BioWare during their heyday when they were getting off the ground with Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter and all these other stuff. So BioWare was good. And then Chris Avallone came by and showed them how to do it better. And
they never learned.
And they never learned. The same way they never learned with The Witcher, they never learned with Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know what Veilguard was inspired by. I couldn't tell you.
Oh my god, I completely forgot like they made the Old Republic MMO. And like their solution for Knights of the Old Republic 2 was just let's do like a 300-year time skip.
Let's screw over the greatest character we ever made, Darth Revan.
You know, like, what was like the biggest like slap in the face is that like you can go to Terrace, and you can go to like the underworld, like the bottom of the planet, like in the first game. Like you can't help those scavengers to like go to the promised land. And then you can find the journals and like find out that like none of them have survived because like the cure that Revan found for them is no longer like working for like future generations. So like all of them have turned into like these mutated creatures. So nobody survived. And you can even like board the was like the ship that you start on in the first game. That is so stupid. Like you can clearly see that it blows up. like they retcon things like that. It's just like insane. They really try to like tell one kind of story, and they didn't want to take anything from like the second game. That is just so clear.
4 minutes in. Holy jeez. Okay.
That writing. maybe the lead writer wanted this character to be in a specific way, and it constrained what the writer was able to do while they were writing this character.
So again, this is all the writer's fault. Everything he said, every example was for the writer.
Creative director on the project had in mind, and they were pushing the writing in a particular way or restricting how much leeway the writers had in order to express their vision on what the game was able to do or be.
Still
Maybe
the writer.
the executive producer, all of these people reporting up into the executive producer, decided that this game should be different in tone and was pushing the game direction in a different way. Or maybe the leadership of this project changed 6 times and the direction changed 6 times, and you're getting little bits of writing from each of these different directions, and there was never adequate time to step back and rewrite it.
Oh, so you're saying BioWare makes shitty games because they stop and go from ground zero every time. Is that what you're saying, Mark? And we can't complain to the writers about that? And if we did, and the writer said, yeah, I worked on iteration 1 and they changed it, sorry, not my fault, you'd get a simple response. So what's the problem? Is it because BioWare doesn't know what they're doing? Or is it because the writers suck? Which one?
CEO of his nephew to be hired as a script consultant, and this guy with literally.
So I guess like that's the person who fucked up Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Yeah.
You can't have a go at me because I've hired my 14-year-old nephew to write the script.
Yeah,
Sir, I have the perfect script for the next Dragon Age game. Like, we can finally put the end to this absolutely amazing adventure. Well, I already have my nephew write the ending. What?
Imagine, like, at the end of Veilguard, the writers, Brian, age 6. Just...
I want an explosion, and I love dragons.
We'll have transgenders and surgeries, and you'll enjoy it.
That's just like my mom.
Oh.
What is that thing in your pelvis?
Oh, God.
Zero experience was coming in and pushing for mandatory changes to the project. How realistic are all the things I just said? Some of them are incredibly realistic. Some of them not so realistic, but I've seen things that look an awful lot like all of the things I just said.
One came in and forced mandatory things to be shoved into a game. I wonder what that sounds like.
Yeah. Sounds awfully familiar to me.
I remember the arguments during Andromeda. What was his name? Indian Thunder or whatever the hell?
Yes. What kind of name is that?
That guy who was very left-leaning. Well, that doesn't really narrow it down.
That one, I think that one passed us by, Smud.
He was saying how bad Frostbite was, and it was so hard to whatever code with it. It's like you have full access to the docs and the devs who made Frostbite. You could just call up DICE and say, hey guys, how do I do this? And eventually they had to because the game worked. It just took them so long to figure it out. It's like, yeah, but that's like 3 months tops. Like, how do we make a GUI? How do we make an inventory? It's like, okay, you've done it in other games. How do you do it? So that would have been documented. And it took years. No, it didn't. It shouldn't have taken years. So the stupid thing with Andromeda was the pre-gen stuff that they were playing around with. They couldn't get working because of their dumb ideas. And it was so bad that EA had to say, what the freaking hell are you guys doing? And then Walters got involved. Let me take control. We got to get this thing out the door. And for, was it a year and a half or a year and a quarter? I can't remember the exact report. That's really the project we got with Andromeda. And that's why it was so buggy and there was not much content and all
there's very little to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot. So Mark, we get it. That projects change, but that's no excuse for BioWare to release a product in that state for $60 at the time. If Andromeda was priced at $20 or $25 with no bugs, then we could have the argument, but not $60, not a AAA.
So when you decided to personally person on social media, how certain are you that it was their fault, that they are responsible for that thing that you don't like? And I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't be certain, because you don't know exactly what was going on within the project.
Okay, I agree that you should not be certain, but that doesn't mean you don't say anything. And you should make your voices heard. And if you don't get feedback, then you're gonna keep doing that. Like, this is the thing. We should have options to talk back. Like, look at Mark and his comment section. He is not giving any feedback. He's not engaging. He's just copying and pasting this 4-line sentence.
Maybe just like his career, like he had to copy paste the same code.
Like, it's so stupid that Mark is complaining about. You need to communicate better. You need to be more rational and be nicer. It's like, Mark, there's hundreds, if not now thousands, of comments in your video, all saying how they disagree with you, and all you have to say is either one word or the 4-sentence response you've given everyone else. And we have to take you for your opinion seriously as a moral arbiter of how to talk. If you were that enlightened, you would not have said anything. You would have not even touched it, because you would have realized, I'm wasting my time. And if you're not going to respond properly, then you are wasting your time with any response. That's nonsensical.
I don't get it. Like, do I need to make a disclaimer every single sentence? After every single sentence, that like I don't know if this was the fault of the writer or any other staff member at the team. Seriously, if I find like a writing error, like the lore inconsistency, everything else that you can come up with your mind, I'm gonna state that, and I don't care whose fault is that. It's a problem with the game. The game developers should have like stuck together and like made an effort. So like, these things would be streamed out.
Yeah. It's like the analogy of a chef in the kitchen. The chef is the captain of the kitchen. He's not the guy who makes all the food, but he should check every dish before they go out. And, maybe he's the guy who garnishes it with salt or paprika or whatever at the end. But I'm still going to blame the chef, the guy who made the food. I don't care what his name is. I don't care what position he's in. It's someone cut this piece of meat full of fat and grizzle, and I can't eat it. And
yeah, like,
and
the chef is also like the person who needs to make sure that the supply is still fresh. Like, if it's like rotten and it has been expired for years, I'm not going to serve that kind of food for my customers who have paid like extra.
When you're
large
paying $60 for what, I don't know, a big steak or whatever.
Exactly.
I want the best steak I could possibly buy for that money.
The exact circle you didn't like.
Why should I care about that?
Exactly.
You are asking me for $70 with my hard-earned money that I have to like sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, and I'm just gonna spend it on your game that you tell me, and then I have to feel sorry for you for like the kind of like circumstances that you had to endure for making this kind of product. Like, they're not gonna like say like, sorry, like, oh, I'm sorry, Mark, you had to go through like for years like developing this software with a team of 9. I know that, like, well, you've released it, but it's still not how it should be. Like, it's still missing like so many basic features. I don't care. Like, you tell me like what's wrong with the software. We're gonna try to fix it, and then we just gonna release like a patch, or like those kind of things for free, and not like a DLC. Like, this is insane. Like, how can someone be like a developer at a company for so long and have like this kind of mentality? I think like maybe like BioWare developers had it like really good.
Yeah.
For like at the beginning,
they
got used to it. That kind of praise.
We've been told from late 2000s, early 2010s, that all the devs were on the forums and they all listened to all the feedback and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, that's nice that they read all the criticisms, because I had a hell of a lot of postings. But they didn't do anything about it. They didn't listen to at least my postings. I know they listened to some, because some specific changes were made in the extended cut.
The ones they liked.
The ones that they could easily do. Like we got to give Caden his send off properly, because for whatever reason they didn't do it right the first time, and I'm like, okay, you're trying to appease people by doing the dramatic crap, which the whole scene is ridiculous, because you're under a death laser from Harbinger for 2 minutes as a giant sitting duck.
You've got the largest Reaper to ever exist shooting at people, and there's a spaceship sat in front of him, not getting shot at. While you're having a goodbye.
And it's just like the dumbest. This is not an evac. This is everyone's just ready to die because you just put this giant ship in the front. And it came down within about, was it 5 seconds?
Yeah, in 5 seconds.
Fucking
You said
Independence Day.
No, I think I remember the video. You said they went like 6 times over the speed of light.
Yeah.
To get from a pitched space battle.
I measured it. It was only like 5 points. I have a timer. I measured it. It was extremely fast, and he comes down, and it's right at the bottom of almost right at the bottom of the ramp you're running down, and you have this dramatic scene with Tali or whomever you loved, and it's like, this is stupid, this is ridiculous. There's this giant death god building over there, and the whole scene was stupid. Like, there's so many things they had to eliminate for us to, or for our brains to accept. And then they never changed the ending. They just added to it. They just made it the Star Child worse. They added a slideshow at the end, so the Tuchanka people looked better, and the glowing green people looked better. And, oh, that's nice. So no, you made things worse. Just trying to. Oh, you got more stuff like that. This is the government response to the liberal mindset. What are we gonna get if we vote you in power? Or we're gonna give you money, or we're gonna give you services, or we're gonna give you this or that, and they think this is good governance. If you just give them free, what goodies can we give our populace to appease them? And that's what they did.
What free stuff can we have?
Yeah, they didn't delete stuff. They didn't change stuff. They just added more crap. Here's more junk.
I mean, it gets even worse when you have the Leviathans and stuff added onto it, and you're like, boy, this is getting worse and worse here.
let's add even more complexity to this garbage, mangled ending of the story of the world we created. Let's add more stuff onto it, but then also give us no attempts at actually argue. No,
let's just
yeah. Let's. The whole issue is that. Oh yeah, we had no idea this gigantic Duracell battery could change the way we think. You're like, what? What? Are you serious? You never thought of this? We saw patterns throughout the ages, and you didn't pick up on what the patterns were going to be? You're a super genius. You've been around for billions of years. You couldn't...
No, the best thing about it was they went. We saw patterns of humans and organics killing each other, and each one of them was just Reapers killing everyone.
Yeah. Every time. Never worked. You're like, really?
Yeah, for some reason, a group of synthetics would turn up to kill the humans. It's like, yes, you!
The Geth will...
Stop killing us!
Yeah, the Geth will eventually destroy you. It's like, and your point is? I would rather get rid of you and keep these guys who don't want to kill us. Maybe they will later, but that's another argument to have. All these dumb pieces of logic that a super genius god race who are networked for billions of years would have solved. They would have made the perfect solution. And this is the problem with Eldritch Terror. You don't go into the world of Eldritch Terror and then just pull back the curtain. You never do that. You always keep it in the dark. You do pull it back just very, very, it's a little tiny curtain. Just, oh my God, it's a giant tentacle. That's scary. And you run away in terror because your brain was completely raped by even thinking that there was another being of higher power. And they sort of went that route.
I would think it'd be better if the Reapers just said, "Why do you do it? Because we want to."
Yeah.
That'd been better, because then it's just like, oh, it's like, well, why does a kid burn ants? Oh, because I want to.
Because you're ants.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
a
ants. I can
god.
do. Yeah.
And in the first game, that's what it was. It was, holy shit, there's no way we can win. In the second game, the guy wouldn't shut up. He kept talking about organic life. It's like, dude, what is happening?
Elementary creatures of flesh and blood. You fumble in my mind. And you're like, oh my god.
And Harbinger wouldn't shut up about all the sorry, genetically gobbledygook. And you're like, what the hell? Why are you mentioning nonsense? Why? Like, the more you reveal the Eldritch Terror speaking about nonsense, the dumber everything sounds. And I thought this was a simple lesson that anyone who wrote Eldritch Terror or horror or even watched a horror film would know. But apparently BioWare didn't know that. And they really had to keep using the sound mixer guy to change people's voices, because Harbinger sounded like Dr. Claw with a mix master. You're like, okay. Great idea. So, no, they screwed up the plot, they screwed up the villain, they screwed up the build-up, the choices. Everything was screwed up, and all they did was add more crap to the end to appease the fans. And they went, oh, it's what is it, 500 meg download or whatever it was? It was a little bit more. Wow, we got more stuff. It's like, you're not fixing problems, you're causing more. Anyway.
Like, even people who aren't always going to be absolutely certain on who is responsible for something being exactly a particular way. These projects have hundreds of people on them. Content moves around between multiple people. Unless I am the person who is actually responsible for something being a certain way, that chain of custody isn't always going to be super obvious to me.
Then the person you're addressing will say, sir, that wasn't me. You direct your ire at this person. That's a simple conversation that these people do not have. Why can't you do that, Mark? Is it in your contract not to engage? Because BioWare never engaged with me for multiple years on the BioWare social forums or on social media. In fact, they blocked me. They cannot take criticism compared to, what is the guy from Kingdom Come 2 who's always talking on social media.
Oh, that guy. That is just an embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's certain ways to do it, but at least he engaged with people.
He engaged with people, but like basically, like, you can go back like 8 years ago when like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 came out. Like, he had the polar opposite of opinions. That like this game, he was making like LGBTQ people for the right reasons. That like this character is straight, he's not gonna be gay, because like at the time like that was the opposite. Like, everyone was like turning into like this bisexual. We're gonna turn this character like upside down. And now he was making promises that like none of those things gonna be included in the second game, and they did happen. And then like he got confronted, and like he's like, well, I guess like you weren't right, but at the same time, like I'm happy that he reacts, but it's the same kind of reaction that BioWare is doing.
Didn't he get like caught out though when someone said, "Oh, you take all like BlackRock money"? Anyway, no, we don't. Showed the like funding, and Vanguard was in there.
Yeah, Vanguard. I'm sorry, it's not BlackRock. It's Vanguard instead.
You're like, oh man, why did you do that? That was. But then when I hear saying like it wasn't this guy, all I can think of, it wasn't me. They saw me writing Mass Effect's ending. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Saw me screwing over a franchise. It wasn't me. I killed all the games. It wasn't me. BioWare's going under. It wasn't me.
We should make a musical.
That's for sure.
This isn't to say that you aren't allowed to have your own opinions.
So this is the third time he's trying to backtrack and say, oh, no, you could say what you want. You could say whatever you like. It's just, do it my way.
Wait, wait,
To
the
not
highway.
like the thing
Ah,
you like. It's specifically at you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person is often misdirected.
Okay, fair enough. But you know what? That's when the person I'm attacking says, excuse me, sir, you've got the wrong guy. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. Who should I be directing my ire to? This person over. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day. That's a simple conversation between two humans. You go to Costco to return stuff you don't want or it's bad or whatever. It's like, oh, sorry. Here you go. Here's your rebate. Okay, bye. Simple customer service. Simple common courtesy. Why are you so angry, sir? Well, this thing I got is crap. Oh, you want to go over there and talk to that guy. Okay, thank you. Why is that? Like, Mark, have you ever returned anything you didn't like? Have you ever bought a meal that you complained about? Got a dish returned at a restaurant? They return your dishes. You get your money back. Happens all the time. This is normal. I don't think he understands this. If I say...
he's not gonna. He's already retired, isn't he?
Well, the issue becomes because it's such a big product that so many people are messaging, I don't know, Corinne Bush or whatever, that they wouldn't have the time or energy to reply to every single person. And if that's the case, okay, do an interview, do a post-interview, a post-mortem, whatever, and talk about all these complaints, or at least get some of them and talk about it. So we haven't seen that with Bush or any of these people from BioWare because, well, why would they? The game
Pretty much
sucks.
just went, I'm out now, see you guys, and that was it.
Yeah, the game sucks. We knew it was going to suck. Oops. Yes, we are at fault. Bye.
Yeah. So long, suckers.
Yeah, exactly.
Have fun, assholes.
Yeah, and the same with Mark. I don't know who complained to Mark over the years. I don't know exactly what he did because he's a programmer. He probably did a bunch of crap. So did he
Copy and pasting the same comments?
did he do the level design of Mass Effect 2?
Did he do the scene where all the male characters have the exact same birthmarks on their back? Same body type and everything in Mass Effect 3.
That's right, I remember that. We have one texture map for the men.
I keep remembering stuff from that game. I'm like, oh, this makes me sad.
Yeah.
Feel like you're just not getting the satisfaction from yelling at the corporate Twitter channel
Push me.
or yelling at the studio directly. If you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond.
It's not sad. What's sad is your hand movements. After every second sentence, you have to say something as if we can't hear the words coming out of your mouth. And this is how you normally talk to people. There's nothing sad about voicing your opinion, which happens to be negative. All this nonsense about being, oh, you should be positive all the time. You should be nice to people. It's like, yeah, when they deserve it.
This is just hilarious because at my workplace we have like a current problem, and like we had to call a meeting with like a different department at our workplace, which was about developer operations. Basically, like we couldn't use the internet for 2 entire days, and they had a complaint from us after we went down to their office and screamed at them that like, hey, how about you send up like 2 of your guys and check our network connections? Like, is everything fine? Because we still can't connect to the internet. And if we can't connect to the internet, we can't use VPNs, so we can't connect from home and so on. And now we had like a discussion that like, if we didn't use those kind of measures, we would still be without the internet connection in our own office. And that is kind of ridiculous. Like you do need to like go down and like be a little cruel in order to like get some kind of progress out of it. Like, game development is no different.
All right.
Beyond that, still give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits.
What?
You can go higher than that.
Why?
But no lower than that. The first person in the credits is the person who was, theoretically at least,
aren't like the first people in the credits like the voice actors?
I don't know what logic he's trying to follow here, but okay.
like roll credits. And like I think like it's the casting. What comes first? Like the leading.
He also said don't go lower. You can go higher than the first person in the credit. I'm like, who's higher? The first person's the first person.
So that means no one? I don't get it. Anyway, here is gay actor Michael Douglas. Thank you for the one, sir. He's technically right with his title. $70 doesn't buy you cruelty. Cruelty is free. You can just go on social media and send death threats to game devs. I've done like 7 times today. Might do it again. In fact, you should try it. It's liberating. I don't advocate for this. This isn't very efficient or effective. You should be able to freely say what you want, but do it within reason and why. Give a good reason. Usually it's after this person has proven themselves to be worthy of death. I don't know. How would that work? I don't know.
But I guess we should start with Jennifer Hale. Because ladies first.
Jennifer Hale?
Yeah, because like the first person in credits. Like we shouldn't go any further than that.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Hold on, I'm now going to see who was the first person in the.
It's Casey Hudson, probably. It's probably the first name pops up. Anyway, that's a weird thing to say. Let's just see where he goes with it.
Charge of the project. They are the person where at least some of the responsibility is going.
I just checked it. It's Casey Hudson.
Yep. And he does not give a flying flip about people's opinions. He is not once. Was he even in the BioWare social forums? I do not recall seeing him post.
Second person is Preston Watamaniuk.
That's the guy. That's him and his brother, Watson Amaniuk. Him and his brother are the developers for so many BioWare games, and they're still there.
And then Mac Wallace is the third guy.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't complain too much about Wataniuk because he's just a dev. He just builds stuff. So someone must have designed the levels. So either built the levels, he coded the levels, he coded the gameplay for the levels. So you would have that constant relationship between the designer and developer, which is usually a love-hate relationship. But they also sometimes one and the same, because it's why if you can design something, you'd build it, because that's how the level editors in Unreal work. It's very easy. But coding is slightly different. So I don't know. I really would like to get to know these guys because they have very, very few interviews over the years. They're kind of in the background a lot compared to like James Olin, who's wanted the old style form of BioWare, the Baldur's Gate stuff.
Now, did they have full control over? You could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as a script consultant. But at the very
So why did Casey Hudson use his stupid nephew to hijack Dragon?
Yeah, this is a
please
weird.
tell me.
This is a weird straw man he's created here. I don't know what he's trying to go with. Nepotism arguments. You're like, okay, what?
Like, but BioWare was about to like release like the biggest banger in the universe, and then like Casey Hudson brought in his nephew. They're like,
yeah,
I want to design dragons.
I was flying my plane over the Alps one day, and I thought, what we really need is a little child.
I was playing Skyrim the other day.
Yeah, I played this other game that's better than the thing we're making.
I heard about this famous game developer. Well, he's kind of like somewhere in Bethesda. Can't really come up with the name.
Well,
It's also the tip of my tongue.
All those games he makes works. That's what I want. On a game, on an ending that works for everyone. And
He's always positive. There's like 100 endings to this game.
And he would come out like a spirit, and he'd be like this god-like character. He'd answer all the questions, but not
16 times the detail.
I remember that comment in the makings of Mass Effect 3, or the endings of the last 20 minutes of Mass Effect 3, where Mac Walters was like, we want to explain things. There's so many questions. And Custon's like, no. We just got to keep it simple. Like, what? Simple?
Yeah. So simple, yeah.
Like, whoa, that's not what you do at the end of a story in science fiction where everything has to build up to something. It has to literally explode with information, not explode the galaxy.
We wanted to leave the players with more questions than answers. What? No.
Yes,
that's a terrible way to do it.
Let's destroy the eldritch technogods by not answering what they're trying to do and how they came about. Let's just make some stupid DLC where we have this other gigantic organic god that they were based off and not answer any questions of how they got there.
Why is it all in the jungle? Just.
Oh, dear.
Oh, man.
At the very least, they were in charge of the project for a somewhat significant percentage of the time. So if you are mad about Anthem and we look at the credits, no shit, that's me. But yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody for the way that Anthem is, it's much better to be yelling at someone like me who was theoretically in charge of the project. Or
Wait, you don't remember? You were theoretically? No, you either were or you weren't.
Oh my god.
Like he's putting like a very big emphasis on senior. Like maybe that's where he is at. So,
was he in charge of the project or not? Or is he making the argument that he came on the project as a lead, like, halfway through, and the stuff that came before he has no idea of? Is that what he's trying to say? Because if I made the thing and I'm the guy, I'm the head honcho, I made the thing. Okay? I not theoretically made it, I actually made it. Okay. Holy hell. Honey, what'd you do for the past 5 years? Well, I theoretically was on this project and the game shipped.
I think he forgot about he worked in Anthem just then.
Is that a thing?
Look at this Anthem, and you'll see, oh, it's me. It's like, what, did you forget, man?
You know what? That's probably a good way of putting Anthem in perspective. I don't want to be remembered.
Maybe he does do drinking. It's just like he was alone.
Oh, dear.
LinkedIn, suffering from onset early dementia.
What? We released that game?
It is possible that he's making the argument that, you should always go up to the guy in charge to complain. But as we said before, Casey didn't care.
Yeah, but also Casey Hudson had a boss as well at EA that he had to report to. Do you have to slowly make our way up to whoever owns EA to complain?
Is that what he means as above the credits? Maybe.
Yeah, above the credits, probably. Because, because it's published by EA. It's like, right, so then I've got to go to EA's HR department, do I?
Well, they tried to do that with Mass Effect 3's ending. They wanted to file a lawsuit because the shareholders were being lied to about what they were getting as a product. So that didn't go very far. But I'm just saying, these things happen.
Yeah, but you can't just keep going further because you get to the top of EA and goes like, well, to be honest with you, aren't we all run by politicians? I'm like, yeah, I'm not sending a letter to Justin Trudeau to complain about.
And then you read the first line of the charter. We all believe in the rights of God under God. Yeah, you're like, what?
I am not sending letters to fictional characters.
I gotta change my religion.
I'm not messaging God, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny.
I gotta start changing my religion to pray to God now.
Or even the flying spaghetti monster. I'm not.
Oh dear.
All I wanted to say was I didn't like Act 3 of the game. I don't need divine intervention.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
Project for some of the development time than yelling at someone who was working on the combat or the level design or whatever.
Yeah, but what if the combat really sucks and the lead combat developer says he's the lead combat developer and I say, hey, sir, that thing you made, yeah, that's really bad. Wouldn't that be...
but then you would be cruel to a human being. How can you stoop so low, Smud?
Yeah.
If that was me, who was the lead combat developer, and I'd done shit, I go, yeah, but is my name first in the credits? Yeah.
Yeah.
Blame the other guy.
It's like, when Domino's tried to go to Italy and, populate Italy with Domino's pizza, and they failed horribly. It's like, you don't blame necessarily Domino's for you look at the landscape and go, oh, they have really high standards here. Maybe we should actually compete and learn to do good food, and they couldn't. It's BioWare doesn't do that. BioWare just tries to make something, and at least in a state that it works, as opposed to looking at what's out there. And they've stopped doing that. I don't know what they couldn't even talk about Destiny 2 or Destiny when they were making Anthem, which is the most stupidest thing you could do when trying to compete in the market that Destiny is in. It makes no sense. What was that guy when he was at Kotaku who did that interview? Jeremy Soule, I can't remember his name. There was a guy he's now at Bloomberg as a game journalist, but he did that really good interview where they talked about you could not talk about Destiny 2 on the Anthem project as a looter shooter. We're making a looter shooter. It's like, oh, you can't talk about it.
I think Jeremy Soule is the music composer.
Yeah, I got those names. It's Jeremy something. I can't remember. Anyway, he was the guy who did actual journalism and interviewed people, insiders.
You don't know exactly what their reality was.
Don't care.
When I was an executive producer, I got paid pretty well. And to some degree, from my perspective, some of that compensation was to act as a lightning rod for this negative discourse. It's one of the reasons why I think it is an executive producer's responsibility to have a social media presence. Because some of you, if you're still watching, will play a game and be angry about it and need to yell at a human being. And I think one of the executive producer's responsibilities is to protect his team. And part of protecting his team is providing that lightning rod. If you don't provide that lightning rod, then people who need to vent are going to find places to vent. We live in a social media world. Many people have some form of social media presence.
Yeah, but what if they don't? And even if they do, who cares? They don't have to respond. So we're just screaming into the darkness. And then your whole argument is nonsense. So like, what is the problem here exactly? Is it because people say mean things online? That's all I'm getting from you, sir. If I spend my time and money on a video game, which is, BioWare makes these 40-hour games, and I know what's wrong with it, and I can identify the person who made it, like David Gator, on the writing. And I say, David Gator, your story sucks. Here's where. Does he get back to me? No, he's not going to do that. Unless I'm, some gigantic, YouTube personality that can control the narrative at times. He's not going to care. So no, we are allowed to be as cruel and nasty and as detailed or whatever, childish as we want when something sucks. And again, we go back to this person's comment section. He cannot engage with these people. And they are not leaving horrible messages. They are laughing at him for being so tone deaf.
You, as the most senior person on the presence, then people are going to go and find someone else. Someone who isn't paid as well as you. Someone who doesn't necessarily have the tools to protect themselves from the toxicity that is leveled at them. I would say again that you shouldn't be targeting people directly, even the executive producer. But you know what?
Wait. So we can point our ire towards the first guy in the credits, but we also shouldn't. Mark, what are you trying to tell me? I'm very lost now.
I feel like it's just.
And if I would know.
But if you feel the need,
Please don't be mean to people I used to work with.
I need a job.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years or 4 years. I haven't been hired yet.
I really would like to go back to my comfortable chair.
Yeah, it's so. This is social media. If you don't like it, block them. If you still don't like it, mute it. If you still don't like it, stop using it. If you still don't like it, get off it. Like, it's just, there's so many things you can do. Who cares what I think? No one has at BioWare. They kept making crap. Good for you.
the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say have at her. As you get beyond the executive producer and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation, they share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is.
Really? Okay, there is some response, but then you could say the same thing of the actual writer or the actual dev or the actual voice. You could make this same argument for all these people. They had some responsibility to make quality stuff. So, no, that's not the same argument. From a business perspective, it is, but not from a creator perspective. It's definitely on the artists and the devs. So, why should we go higher when we want to go exactly to the source, like the writers?
You feel the need to yell at them. Again, probably don't, but they're big boys and girls, so
What?
they should be able to handle it.
So the CEOs, all the C-suite guys, those are okay. They're big boys. Me and the devs and the writers and all the voice, they have a personality of a baby. You can't hurt them, guys. You can't talk mean to them.
You can't talk to the $100 million company. What? The game that they produced. What was the budget for Dragon Age Veilguard? I forgot about that.
Was it 150 million?
150 million.
I can't remember. Let me check.
It was a lot more than that, actually. It was,
What was it again? Because I saw it pushed 200 million at one point.
250 million was the reported budget, but that does not account for marketing. So, yeah, that's not much. I mean, we're talking 9 years. That should have been like, way beyond that. But for 9 years at 250 million, what the hell were they doing? Who was on the job?
We will never know.
Yeah. And those are small numbers, but, obviously 250 million is a lot of money. They were expecting at least a double return on that. So that's sad.
Now, the reality is, most of those people do not have a social media presence, do not have a way that you can yell at them directly. So a lot of times what I'm telling you is the least senior person you're allowed to yell at is the executive producer. And a lot of times the most senior person you're going to be able to yell at is the executive producer. So once again...
So we should all join Blue Sky and bitch at David Gator and all his friends.
Yes.
That's what he's saying.
All of them.
Go to the guy in charge, like David Gator of the writing. I don't know how talking to the executive producer of Dragon Age is going to help anything. The game's dead. And John Epler's gone, so...
Yeah, like, even the director is gone.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a shit game. No one cares. EA fired everyone. So what's your point, Mark? Don't be nice. It's like, we've tried that.
Be nice. The next Mass Effect game is going to be made by a skeleton crew.
We don't even know what's going to happen. We have no idea.
I hope not. I honestly hope not.
It's like a dice roll at this point. Maybe they might get some, like we said that about Andromeda, maybe they're going to get some great talent from Montreal or whatever. It's like, nope.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
Like the days of BioWare are so over. Like I just hope that they are not doing that so they can go to a different company and like do something useful with their time. Because this is clearly just a waste. I would even like go as far as like maybe it's money laundering. Like well, God has to be.
It's kind of hard to argue with hundreds of millions of dollars. Where did all that dev time go? Because I know lots of people in very specific areas of game development, like motion capture, where it makes sense.
But to the point that like they are rewriting the way the game behaves.
Yeah, I mean, dev time does take just there's no way around it. You have to take the time to build something.
Absolutely.
And
like,
there's
to the point that like it's like a core features of the game.
Yeah, there's no like tutorial on how to do these things. There's no guidebook. I mean, there's functions you can use, but everything is pretty much from scratch. Like you have to figure this all out by yourself. That just takes lots of time.
Like getting like an architect to like just see through like this project, like it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So, but these specific people, like everyone's specialized in game dev and game art and design. So like the mocap guys, they have very specific tools. They will tell you the high end stuff if you want to get like full mocap or you want to do this or how long that is, and they give you a budget, and it's like $10,000 here, $20,000 there, whatever it is. But stuff like was it LA Noire? Like they had to invent all that technology and figure out how to do full, basically upper body scans in real time. Like that's like all these cameras, and that's new tech. So, and that game took like a decade to make or something crazy. I remember when they first showed it, obviously they had nothing like the trailer was, but when it finally came out, like holy crap, like that was incredible. What they managed to do. Was it the PS3 or whatever? They have to keep changing it because it took so long to build. So the next console generation came out. Yeah. So it was weird to watch that progression, and it bankrupted the company. I think they didn't turn a profit or whatever the case was.
They got closed down like 2 years after it was released because it just cost that much. Was it Take-Two? Was it Take-Two? Studios in like Australia or something. Who did it?
It was a huge dev cycle, and everyone was so impressed with the tech, and we had no idea it would take that long to make. Yeah. So financially bad idea, artistically incredible.
Team Bondi. In conjunction with Rockstar North and Rockstar San Diego.
Interesting. Money to burn. I wonder what the budget was that. That was probably hundreds of millions of dollars. Several hundreds of millions.
Serves as a lightning rod for all. Feel like you're not being listened to when you complain on Metacritic or you complain on...
Why would I expect to be listened to on Metacritic? That's weird.
Why am I expecting to be listened to at all? Like... Game developers live in this completely different world than what I live in.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'll say my frustration. I don't expect them to listen to me.
Can you imagine Mark being like listening to me at all?
No.
Like it's just like, dude, you're making Anthem? Oh, that's why. That makes sense. But if you were making like Mass Effect 2, I'd be like, oh, Mark, we got to talk. And I'd list all these reasons. I would get zero response because you wouldn't have the time to care. You have other things to worry about. So no. I learned that it's pointless to do this. But his argument is, oh yeah, you can express yourself, but one, be nice about it. Two, no one gives a shit. It's like, thanks. Okay.
To the head creator of everything in the world.
Yeah.
If a name's not first on the credits, you can't talk to him. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no point doing anything.
The forums of a studio, or you complain into the social media channels of...
Yeah, why did they shut down the BioWare social forums, I wonder?
Jeez.
Because everyone was complaining and you had no idea what to do about it? Maybe? It was turned off like was it after Mass Effect 3 or was it after Andromeda? I can't remember when they turned it off.
They severely restricted it after Mass Effect 3, and then it was just died in a slow death.
Yeah.
Until they just cut it off completely.
Yeah, because everyone was complaining.
And it turns out you can't just say artistic integrity for every single answer.
Got it. Not that phrase. Oh, good Lord.
Yep.
Moriarty had to open his mouth too and talk. That was before he was sane. Moriarty wisened up after that, but
What I enjoy is that artistic integrity was the proto media literacy argument. This is how long I've been on the internet, hearing the same shit and hearing people go, "Well, you can't be mean to people." I've been on the internet 20 years. It's always happened. Get used to it.
Yeah,
it's gonna keep happening.
This is how it should be.
Yeah, video games are the biggest entertainment genre medium in the world. You're gonna get feedback. Internally, externally, doesn't matter. And if you can't deal with that, if you don't have channels for that, if you don't have a proper, and BioWare did not have a proper PR team. And if they did, we wouldn't have those ridiculous Ding Dong Banu memes and all the other BioWare social forum memes that we've had over the years. If they just listened to people and realized, hey guys, you're making this for us, You have to figure this out. You have to make this make sense. And I'm not saying that's an easy job, but if I was making a trilogy or whatever that was big and I had to plan it out, I wouldn't really care too much about external input until I screwed up. Like my first chapter. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to branch this off properly. I don't want to drive myself crazy with all these choices that have to make sense. Like it's going to drive costs. How do I fix this? Let me talk to someone. Let me talk to a science fiction author. Let me talk to a game developer who's done something like this. How does this work? And then you go up planning it properly. They obviously didn't do that. And there's so much evidence of that. They were always winging it, unfortunately.
Or the studio. Be aware that be scrutinized, not just by the social media teams, also by the teams themselves. Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say often, too much to what you are yelling about and complaining about.
That's rich. I'm sure they are reading all the comments, but they're not actually learning anything. So.
Yep.
And I had to go to YouTube to express myself because I was getting blocked. I was getting told off. I was called a hater. And even on social media, they don't care. So, you can make... we've had all kinds of video people over the years make all kinds of assessments and analysis of the BioWare games and why they suck. And they don't care.
In these channels. But don't worry, you don't need to go onto their Twitter channel and yell at them directly because they're going to hear it anyway. Be a human being, have some empathy.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, shut up.
How about I wasted my time and money, F you, let me explain why. How about that as a consumer or a purchaser of your product? How's about that?
Have some empathy. How about no?
You gave me a piece of shit. Oh, I should care about the person who gave me a piece of shit. Really? Really?
Okay, how about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
It's like you bought a car. Half it doesn't work. Well, have some empathy with the seller. It's like, no.
How about no, you crazy Canadian bastard?
This is just moral superiority. In some sort of Canadian rapper that doesn't understand what he's doing on the camera. This is supposed to be...
Now he can do the prison rap.
Oh, yeah?
Canadian rapper, be nice to your fellow humans, yo.
Jeez, you guys took that word the
give
wrong
me
way.
your bike.
Don't be mean. That's not what's cool. I feel like I'm some sort of like 90s, TV advert about being nice.
Yeah, Hawk, you're so hip and hop right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm very down with what the kids are into these days.
That doesn't
Being
rhyme.
kind and friendly.
Oh dear.
And being cruel. Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs.
No. Why would I not? You think EA didn't throw a party? They just saved a bunch of money by cutting this fat from BioWare? That's what business people do all the time. They buy a new company. They go, okay, let me do the assessment. Oh wow, it's worse than I thought. Let me cut more than 20%. Fantastic! I just saved $1 million.
Not happy, like, people lost their job. I'm happy that people who destroyed one of my favourite franchises deliberately and did so with incredible venom and an agenda, and now losing their job. That's what's making me happy. That
The
people
same
thought
people
they could,
that claim that like Dragon Age isn't a dark fantasy.
yeah, the people who literally were not even tourists, because at least tourists have an interest in the series. People who had no interest in the series and just wanted to destroy something, they have now lost their jobs. So when I see them cry because they've done such a bad job, of course it's going to make me happy. But, they didn't lose it. They didn't do a really good job, make a smash hit, and then EA screwed them over. No, EA went, you failed miserably. You destroyed everything. You've literally brought this upon yourself. So, yeah. Of course I'm happy. What the fuck?
This is weird. Yeah, he assumes that we're all the devs and all the artist guys, whatever you want to call the creative types, make crap, and you go, oh, that's okay, honey. No, it's okay. You made your first video game, and it's a pile of shit, but that's okay. It's all right. You can do.
Okay, you just shut yourself again. Oh.
It's like, Mark, we're not here to wait another 10 years for a release of a game that has to have some finality to it, only to be said, no, we're gonna put some shit in it, and you can't complain. You cannot complain the way I want you to complain. While he's telling us I think this is the fourth time. Oh no, you can express yourself, but you do it in the right channel. Then he gave us all his criteria. Oh,
Yep.
Only the first guy on the credits or the EA executives. And you're like, what?
Fine. Can I celebrate Corin Bush losing his job? Or am I not allowed to do that? Or is that being cruel?
Yeah, you cross a line when you do that.
You crossed the line. You gotta have more empathy, man.
Oh, jeez. Okay, we got almost 2 minutes left.
You don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at.
I don't care.
People deserve some grace.
I do know the circumstances. They were terrible at their jobs. And then they failed to produce a product that I enjoyed. It's very, very simple, actually. Because unlike BioWare devs, most gamers have got a 3-digit IQ, so we can understand these things very easily.
How does the game get made? Well, you don't have know the first thing about game dev. It's like, I don't need to.
Me just slam keyboard and then thing happened. Gamer not understand. Gamer mean.
Every single BioWare game after Dragon Age 2 requires you a college degree to understand like what is happening. Oh, so I need to be transsexual to understand this game. Oh, I see. Che Guevara, Hitler.
I don't even understand why he thinks it's so complicated. Just saying, listen, the game was really bad. BioWare as a company is really bad. They've brought this upon themselves, and people are well within their rights to complain, and also they're well within their rights to see people who have destroyed numerous of their franchises lose their jobs.
Yeah, this has been going on for years.
Yeah, This is like a bus driver crashing into an orphanage, and then someone going, "Oh, well, you can't be happy to see him going. He should keep his
You
job."
don't know the
No, I want him
circumstances
gone.
what led to that. Like maybe those kids were really cruel. Like they do.
You don't know the circumstances. Maybe he just wanted to mow people down.
Maybe the CEO's nephew wasn't that orphanage.
But major question: was his name the first in the credits? You can't complain.
Oh, wait a second. What if the kid he was referring to by his example
my nephew.
was like a yeah, exactly.
His nephew.
No, but it turned out the nephew was the driver. It's like it wasn't me, officer. My nephew was the second gunman on the grassy knoll.
I see. Anyway, can you put down the gun?
Anyway, don't be cruel, guys.
Oh,
You can argue, but just don't be nice. Be mean about it.
Whoa, this really is just going into. I used to work there. Please be nice to my ex-colleagues. And you're like, Mark, I'm sorry to say this, but none of your colleagues are still working there.
Oh, yeah.
They all got fired.
That was the comment by Gator.
The janitor still works there.
Yeah, Gator made the joke about a month ago, or not the joke. He made the comment a month ago when he has nothing to do with BioWare. He has nothing to do with Dragon Age anymore. It's like, Gator, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah, David. Oh, but the issue is, all these tourists think they know better about the game, and it's like, David, you literally made a game for tourists, and BioWare failed. What are you on about here? Please shut up.
Long-time fans have no idea what we're doing. Like, oh, okay, Gator, I guess you're right. I guess you know better than me. There's a big disconnect between the guy, somebody who makes a thing, and the character or the person who consumes the thing. It might be the person with the taste that consumes the thing, knows whether the thing is good or bad. Not because when you make a thing, believe it or not, you're really biased toward that thing. Case in point, your kids. You have children, they are perfect to you. They're definitely not, and they're also devils to you as well. But you are very strongly opinionated towards those things. So
yes,
you do not know whether they're geniuses or morons until a teacher who knows what geniuses and morons look like tell you. So
no, I know both my kids are morons. They're related to me.
Oh, finally.
Finally, a worthy opponent.
Yeah, this is why I like talking to the QA people a lot, because they could be devs, and some of them start as QA people too before they get into dev or level design or whatever. So they played the game. They know that, oh yeah, this thing was broken. We fixed it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh really? Huh. Can you talk to that, like your creative director? He's like, oh no, he won't care. It's just a task to him. He has no idea if it's good or bad. It's just a thing to fix that I told him to fix. Like, oh, really? So you're the guy who makes all these extra changes. It's like, yep, we make sure the dev cycle is bigger because QA is like, 1/3 of the whole project. So, yeah, this is where I think things might have broken down. There was no QA for writing.
I don't think they had a QA. Who was it? Which game was it where they were deliberately ignoring the QA people at BioWare?
Probably Anthem.
It was Anthem, but there was also something else where they were like just straight up, like the QA was saying stuff and BioWare just weren't listening to them.
It must have been Andromeda, because the Anthem definitely had the problem, but Andromeda had it beforehand, and Andromeda's full of bugs, so it would make sense that the QA was just skipped or didn't have time. And because they changed people so many times in Anthem that even the trailer we got was faked for Anthem. So it's like, okay, they didn't have anything ready to go, so everything was broken.
No. Didn't they even at the game showing of it, like we were in massive panic about what the hell was even going to be shown to the audience? And you're like, oh my god, we don't have anything. And then something happened, and you're like, oh, we've got this footage.
Well, I do remember the footage from, was it E3? It was a demo of Inquisition, and they showed this really cool scene of, you have to go save that village that's being attacked, or we got to go continue our mission. And it was time-based. It was like, oh my god, you got to make these choices in the game? It's an open world? That's crazy. I love to see that. and that never made it in the game. So
No.
there were lots of, like, they wanted to do like the stupid analogy of the bears, and you kill certain bears in a habitat and they don't come back because you just killed off the populace, and you're like, oh, that's really weird. And they scrapped that. So there's lots of stuff they scrapped from Inquisition that came about in different ways, but they never really lived up to the expectations they made. So they ended up just making a bigger game with all the same assets and all the same stuff that they would have made in any other game, as opposed to doing something original.
You know what I always find funny, especially with like BioWare showing stuff off, is they say all these things and then they cut them, and no one ever puts much of a complaint in. But then you had what's his name who used to make remember the Fable games,
Right? Yeah.
and he said the similar things. Yeah, Peter Monolou, is it? Yeah, and like he used to get like slated completely because
he went a bit crazy saying.
Yeah, I get that. But what I mean is, BioWare then starts saying, like, obviously with the Andromeda thing, all these planets are going to be like 100% explorable and all this, and you're like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
And Veilguard
planets.
Well, remember the X05 demo of Mass Effect 1 where they had a lot of placeholder art and sounds and voice acting, and you could control Garrus and you were fighting the mech on one of the planets. It's like
it was actually on.
Yeah, if it was a Pharaohs, yeah, and it's like, oh wow, this is what they wanted. They had interrupts, you know. It's like, wow, and so they cut a lot of that out, and they tried to bring it back in the second game. Obviously, they got interrupts, and that was a huge feature. So some of these ideas are genius, and if they just brought them out properly and had the focus to do them, this is what people wanted to see. I would have loved to have controlled Garrus. Instead, we got Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, where you can play as a Turian. So the options are there. They did versions of it. It's not the way it should have been. And if they only went back to the original concepts and said, why can't we get it done and let's figure out how, then they should have done that with the story. They should have done that with everything. And they couldn't, because there was too many cooks in the kitchen and too many ideas, and there was no, like, again, Casey was way too diplomatic, I think. He should have said, no, we're doing it this way. Or the opposite is true. We're doing it my way, which is the shit way, and no one else had any
highway.
Yeah, and no one else.
I think it was more that way, Smud, with the way it went.
Possibly, I don't know. This is why I want to know, like, what exactly happened at BioWare, because it sounds like it was a giant mess until crunch time came, and then everyone just slammed shit together.
Yeah, but it feels like, I don't know what it was. It feels like Mass Effect 3 was a massive turning point for this company, where something broke and it could never be fixed again. Something completely was busted in the company, and now we're. Go on, Mark. What were you going to say?
I think like it's not just the company, but like it's also like the gaming culture. Like it seemed to have been like a heavy focus that the consumer is the one to blame. Like that was like the point. Like when Mass Effect 3 was released, like 2012, was it? That was like when like all these like journalists like started like rallying up that like the real problem is that, like we just can't appreciate the games as they are. Like we are demanding too much.
Well, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that they set up that mistake they fell into. So if they're going to say we're going to do a trilogy and we're going to have all these choices matter, then you got to do it properly. And they didn't do that because
none of those choices mattered.
Because, well, you could argue that the two arcs mattered, but the
very minor in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger the choices, the bigger the payoff. That's what should have happened. That's what the Rachni was. That's what, when you finally discover Sovereign, like, oh my God, what a reveal! You got to live up to that, and they could not figure out how to reveal that end game or that end scenario.
Or like having like a compelling villain like Saren.
Saren was one of those Drew Karpyshyn ideas that just worked. And you know, their ideas, let's make a Darth Maul character for Mass Effect 3. You're like, what? Really? You want a Kai Lang dude?
It wasn't even that. Like, Saren is very similar to Loghain from Dragon Age, with everything in the way that they're set up.
Another great villain.
Yeah, another great villain. And then, like you say, you get the Elusive Man in Kai Lang. It's like the Corypheus of Mass Effect, and you're like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, they
at all.
they forgot about making the conflict the antagonist to be a focus of the story. And with Loghain, it wasn't just that he was a great villain because he kept trying to kill you. It's because how you can deal with him and the iterations of choice that came about. And you could like totally screw him over. You can put him on your team. You could do all kinds of fun stuff. So that's the stuff we wanted. And they should have led with that. They should have started with that as a base and then made a game from that. That's why I said in engineering, you create a tool or a solution to solve the scope of the problem. So if you have a car and it's hot in the summertime, what do? You could buy an internal AC, or you could buy a little fan and just cool yourself. If you have 4 people, you need 4 fans. If you have an auditorium, you need a gigantic solution. You don't just buy a fan in every seat, So to scale up to a galactic level, just think, why are we playing an FPS? We needed RTS. We need ships and things moving around and resources being transferred. And wouldn't it be great to see the world map and you're in control of the world, of the spatial, of the galactic map, and you're moving fleets and you always lose because it's the Reapers? There's no way to win. It just, the entire game is this sour, like, I had all this power. There goes the 5th fleet. Oh shit. I just lost the 4th fleet. And you just can't win. And everything's desperate. And that to me would how logically, the way they set up the story, the Reapers at the Citadel, game over. There's no chance of winning. But they had to do all this bullshit with the Star Child. So there's lots of ways to write properly in science fiction. It's always difficult. Science fiction, you have so much freedom, but you also have the freedom to kill yourself or you shoot yourself in the foot so many times. And that's pretty much what they did in the second game. They wasted so much time in the second game. They didn't even bother to set anything up properly.
Yep.
And
yeah, but Spud, even if they set something up, they could just easily destroy it by pressing start and a nuclear explosion.
Well, the other argument is the third game, they wouldn't resolve anything and just have another Mass Effect 2 and just a bunch of interludes, right? Yeah. People would have loved it. They go, wow, it's so fun. The Reaper Wars are coming. They never come because we know the Reapers come, you lose. They could have made us a 5th game by now, just with that premise alone. Reapers are coming. Reapers don't give a shit. They're billions of years old. Who cares if another year goes by? What the hell? They could keep doing that, but no, we got to have a trilogy because that's what we said we would do. Anyway, 2 more minutes left.
Deserve some empathy from you, and if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely. One last time for the cheap seats, you are entitled to your.
What happened to his hair? Did you do a cut? He must have done a cut. I must have missed that.
There are so many jump cuts in this video.
So, guys, if you can't say anything positive, just stay off the internet completely. Okay, that's.
I'm gonna be banned from the internet, aren't I?
What's the First Amendment for? Only for talking nice. Oh yeah.
I love how he's pretty much just trying to enforce the same kind of rules as the BioWare forums were.
Yeah. If it's not constructive criticism, you're gonna get suspended. It's like, wow. Thanks.
Even constructive criticism, he goes, well, that's a bit cruel, isn't it? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Like, how do you know that which staff member is responsible for this mistake? Maybe the voice actor was doing this. Maybe the voice actor told us that this is a good idea.
Yeah, you can get lots of ideas from everyone in the cast because they have their own insight. And even if you're not a dev, even designers have access to the engine. They might have played around with it. There's lots of cross skill usage. I just wish that, again, I wish I knew how these things came about because we've heard before there's lots of writers in the room. Everyone's opinion. Everyone gets a say at the table. But I want to know exactly who calls the shots in the writers' room, at least. You could argue about game design and game dev all the time because Mass Effect 2 did a good job of cleaning shit up from the first game. All those gun designs and all the arcs and architecture, everything was sort of streamlined, so that made sense. But if they did that, imagine they did that QA back in Mass Effect 1. How much tighter Mass Effect 2 would have been. And they could have focused on developing the story as opposed to the gameplay. Anyway.
To be angry about a game that you bought. You paid good money for it. But try to remember that it's just a game. Even more importantly, when you...
As I said before, I said this more than 12 years ago. It's never just a game. It's never just a fandom. It's never just a book or a movie. These are things people are passionate about. And I would never look at any kid or any adult with their passion and say, you know what? It's just a hobby, guys. It's just a thing. You got other things in your life to worry about. This is the common argument. Oh, what are you doing with your life? It's like I'm on the internet arguing about the thing I like. Doesn't matter if it's politics or it doesn't matter if it's, I don't know, Harry Potter. Pick a poison. It's your thing. And I would never say you should never be into that. Like, if a grown man wants to like My Little Pony, I mean, okay. Be very careful.
Quite slowly, but you can do it.
Enjoy it, but be very careful with what you say.
Yeah.
And how you act online, because people are going to look at you very strangely.
You are expressing your complaints. Stay away from cruelty. Stay away from targeting individual people.
Wait a second.
Butterfingers.
So we don't target the guy at the first part of the credits. We don't target individuals in EA or the C-suite or whatever. So who do we talk to?
Jesus.
Who do we voice our concerns with there, Mark? What do you?
Dear Lord, today I was playing another BioWare game and I got really angry. Please help me in this time of justice.
Jesus, calm down.
so I can vanish my cruelty away.
I'm too cruel because the game that I was playing was so bad. I made a gigantic list of grievances, but I won't target anyone in particular.
I can't believe a man in his 60s. It's like, is he that old?
I think it's just the Edmonton winter getting to him finally.
The snow is stuck to his beard.
His brain is so cold that I can't think anymore.
Seriously, like someone who has been in the industry so long can't take something like, well, this game sucked.
It really does annoy me, all this lovely fucking dovey hippie shit that comes out of Canada. Just, it's all the same. Well, just be nice to each other.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be nice to 90% of the population.
Well,
I don't care.
EA has lost hundreds of millions of dollars over the decades, really. Not just years, decades now. And they're learning their lesson. And if BioWare does not produce anything worthwhile with, I assume it's the new Mass Effect game. I don't know if they're still doing it. Whatever they're making.
I don't see that even getting released, you know.
I have no information. I don't know. So if
I don't see. I'll be honest with you. I don't see BioWare even making it to the end of the year.
Yeah, that's the big prediction, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah, people are saying, "Oh, they'll be closed like this month or next month," and I'm just a bit like, "No, give it to the end of the year because they'll have not released anything, they'll not have done anything, and EA will be like, we can't sit around and wait 5 years
exactly. Yeah, I see what
for
you're
another
saying.
game."
Yeah.
Nastra Hog Damas.
Okay.
From trying to cause harm, stay away from celebrating harm done to actual human beings.
Okay, when
Express
you,
your
when people lose their jobs,
I'm sorry about that. Like, there are so many jump cuts in this video. Like, I'm sorry, but if you can't say a word, then do another take. Don't like botch together like video, like say these things, because it looks like you could like make a YouTube poop out of it, like stay away
Yeah.
from BioWare games and cruel BioWare games like Ubisoft.
When
Here's something. My video that I put up is literally me in front of a camera, and there's no cuts.
It's
It's just
one
me
take.
talking.
One take.
Yeah, it's one entire take. Okay, there's a little bit of umming because I'm thinking about my words, but I'm not got like 652 jump cuts where I look completely different
yeah,
in each one of them.
from a purely business perspective, I think EA is very happy that they fired a lot of staff at BioWare, and I want EA to do well because they make games, or they fuel devs to make games. But it doesn't matter if it's games or food or politics. I'm going to celebrate the loss of the liberals this year because they blew the budget. They caused huge deficits. That's a good reason to celebrate. We're going to get people who listen to the people. It's that
They lost so much money. I don't think people realize how much money they lost on this game.
Yeah.
It's like people's heads are going to roll.
It's not just the money, but look at Inquisition. That was a financial success. 10 million units or whatever it was.
12 million units.
12 million. Wow. So good on them. They had a great marketing campaign. The game was good enough to appease the peasants who don't know any better, right? The actual Dragon Age fans who know the story are like, what the hell is going on in this game? Why is Thedas messed up? Who the hell is Corey? Why is everyone dumb? What the hell happened to Liliana? I thought she was dead. All these other questions pop up. And Gator's like, well, maybe it didn't happen in your story. It's like, oh. So there's continuity in Mass Effect, but there's no continuity in Dragon Age. You're like, what's the point of having imports now? That was one of the major selling points next to Choices Matter.
Having imports, didn't they?
Having a world state. Yeah.
We don't have one in Veilguard.
Exactly. So it's no longer a Dragon Age game. It's just Dragon Age adjacent. It has the setting of something in Thedas.
Point that I made is the fact that they tried so hard to reboot the whole series and like disregard what came before, but they set Veilguard in its own little bubble where people can just ignore it. And I think most people did. Most people just ignored it. That's why it failed as bad as it did, on top of all the other stuff.
Yeah, imagine if they had a trailer where they revealed 2 seconds of, I don't know, Hawk, or well, they wouldn't reveal the hero of Ferelden because it's different for everyone, so it wouldn't really make sense. But Loghain or someone iconic, be like, wow, what happens to I would love to know what happens to Loghain on that alone. And when they show Isabella and she's not the Isabella you remember, and you're like, oh no.
It's not even that she's not the one that you remember. It's the fact that she doesn't talk about anything from the previous games.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, great. So this might well not be the same character.
Or was Leliana in Veilguard?
No, she wasn't in Veilguard. No, it was Isabella and Dorian.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow. What's the point? Why even make a Dragon Age game at that point? Varric,
that's it.
Dorian, Morrigan, and Scout.
Like 2 scenes.
Oh, yeah, but that's like makeshift Inquisitor.
Yeah. Sten gets mentioned once.
They mentioned a guy. That's great.
Oh, it's only because all the Kunari decide to break off and attack each other because they think Sten is too nice. You're like, okay, cool. Thanks for that. I'm glad I wasted all that time.
Oh, dear.
Opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Be specific.
Yeah, but you'd say that's cruel if I told them what I don't like. I don't like the fact that it's a pile of shit. Well, you're being cruel.
Yeah, this is the same argument from the BioWare social forums. only leave positive comments, constructive criticism, whatever that means. Don't be mean, even though you have other people being mean to you because they call you a hater and all these other accusations when you're just trying to be honest.
Help you get games that are more like what you want. But when you are personally attacking individual devs, you are crossing a line. And you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running.
Really?
Really? That's how you're going to end it?
Thank God.
Are we done?
It's finally over.
Yep.
It's just BioWare employees.
All right.
The members.
All my friends are jobless right now.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any memes? I doubt we do.
We do, but do we really want to see them? Oh.
We could. You guys want to do memes?
Okay.
Okay. We have to. To you.
Okay.
All right. Oh, no. The badge Mark was wearing. Oh, that's not nice. Come on. My brother in Dharma, there is no hose here. It's the Tumo retreat. You're going to generate inner fire or die. What the hell did I just read? Mr. Cowboy Bebop, what the hell was that? Here's some more you posted. AAA devs when you need to make a good game to earn money. You're freaking out. What's this one? Me when I astral project directly into the White House and the Talmudic sorcery just rips my cock clean off. What the hell are we talking about? What is going on? What are these memes, sir?
ifunny.com.
Okay. Reject modernity, embrace tradition. We went from Assassin's Creed Shadows to Raving Rabbids?
Oh yeah, because it is Ubisoft.
Really?
The same devs.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Okay, bro, please don't criticize the corporations for making a bad product. Just worship the product and bully the fans who dare to not mindlessly consume. Stay distracted, never snap at your corporate overlords. All right. What is this? I can barely read this. How can you tell? Modern games have been here 105 gigabytes. Oh. Is that the average size of modern games these days?
Yes. If it's from a Western developer, it is easily 105 gigabytes.
Okay. Indie game developer, my game is really quirky. That makes me unique compared to AAA devs. Steam's indie library. Yeah. Lots of great games on Steam that are really small, releasing great demos. And good, some decent press. I wouldn't have heard of them otherwise, but I played some pretty good demos the past few days.
It's like when the developer goes, yes, this is a roguelike game. You're like, yes.
Oh, yes.
The original.
I haven't seen those.
Roguelikes. Was that you play as a rogue? Like a rogue?
No, it's just like, I don't know. I don't even know what it. I just hear it, and it's like, yes, an original game for an original audience.
Yeah. Come on, do extreme stuff. I'm just not going to buy your shitty games.
Yeah. Yes. That's me.
Waiter. More slop, please. Yeah. That's the popular word of the month. Slop. Oh, I am both Warhammer 40K and Mass Effect. Suffer not the Xeno to live. Okay. Thanks for the steak. Nice burb lady. Oh, it's from Andromeda. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? All right. You know what you like. Game devs, when you interrupt their grooming of minors and ask them to make a game that isn't broken. Who is this guy?
It's I can never remember his name. The actor. He's in loads of things. Shit. What is his name? Because he's in like what was it?
Isn't that fucking Chipmunk movie?
Yeah.
I know because I had to watch that when my sister
Isn't it like Arrested Development he's in?
That's all he's known for.
Really?
And he's in a couple of others. He's in Scary Movie 2. He's in a wheelchair and then sucks his own cock. That's interesting.
Okay.
Before or after he lost his hair?
Jarring.
Criticizing someone for making a bad product, spreading lies and conspiracy theories about a YouTuber who dares to not worship corporate product. Yeah. Mark Darrah and David Jaffe. Being cowardly, enlightened, centrist grifters. I don't know what Mark Darrah is.
You're not. I hate the word centrist. A centrist is just a leftist.
It's pretty much a fancy syrup.
Well, in Canada, we used to actually have liberal centrists that were centrists, and they would cut the budget.
Liberal centrist.
Well, 20 years ago, we had some really good liberals that were, they did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It was great.
There's no such thing as a centrist. A centrist is just a person who can't keep up with the left wing.
Maybe
they will always join the left wing when it comes down to like say there's an argument between which way, they'll always go the left wing way. Well, so yeah, there's no such thing as a centrist.
I would argue if you look at the true.
I'm sorry, Smudge, you're Canadian. You have no say in politics.
I'm still a crown country. We have the same system as you guys.
You elected, Castro's illegitimate child at least 4 times.
Well, we did have a liberal government back in the 2000s, and they did cut the budget.
I think it's gonna be the 5th one.
We don't know.
He's gonna have a 5th.
This month, next month is going to be an election. We have no idea what's going on. Same with
is he running or
no? He's
not running.
They're doing the Liberal Party is doing a leadership vote, and then and that guy becomes the de facto prime minister. The problem is the current guy who's in the lead has never been elected, so we're not sure how that's going to work.
De facto Castro.
Well, more like the WF.
No, that's right.
He's one of the guys on the WF board. He was the Bank of Canada governor and the Bank of UK governor. So.
What's his name?
Mark Carney.
Mark Carney. Yeah.
So
he's the one who he got one of the last UK prime ministers fired. Actually,
that lasted about 3 weeks. What was that? 3 months?
Yeah, Liz Truss. Yeah, he deliberately screwed over our exchange rates to get her fired.
Yeah,
because she wanted to lower taxes.
I know, and people are thinking he's the next coming of whatever, and we're like, he's been the ear behind Trudeau for the past 4 years in all the budgets, and one of the reasons why our previous finance minister just quit. So it's fun times in Canada, guys. We're royal.
Yeah, that's so my point stands. Canadians, you have no say on anything.
We're getting screwed. Yeah. All right, here we go. An unethical company that abuses their workers, makes garbage products, and treats their audience like trash versus YouTubers that kind of say mean things about video games sometimes. Okay.
It's on Reddit. The same thing, yeah.
Idiots on Reddit. That makes more sense. Like those are very different things. There we go. All right. Thank you, Mr. Name I can't read because of the wonderful software cutting off your name, Mr. Streamlabs. Oh my God, the face I make when the game dev begs for their life. That's incredible. I like that. You guys been following the peace negotiations with USA and Russia? It's amazing.
It's wild, right?
It's so much fun. There's no Ukraine in anything. It's like, yeah, we know who's involved. It's like, just go straight to the source. It's like, okay.
We know who's actually fighting and everything.
Just stop, okay?
Oh my God, what's this? Oh, Veilguard. Is that Veilguard? No, that's Baldur's Gate.
No, that's Baldur's Gate 3.
And then we got Dragon Age Origins.
that reminds you of Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. When you have a standard for AAA gaming, whatever it is, you have to match it some way, either halfway or overlap it. I don't care. And they didn't do that with Veilguard. All right. Well, I might still do a video. I'm going to keep it short, but that was Mr. Mark Darrah and his crazy take on policing language in Canada when talking to Canadians or Canadian devs, I imagine. I know he assumes everyone's Canadian and you have to talk to people in the Canadian way. It's like, no, we don't, sir.
Well, as someone who's also named Mark, I am very sorry for everyone who had to suffer through these 3 hours with Mark and Mark myself. I sign off.
I will recommend go to the video, leave a comment, and see how he responds to you. And if he responds to you with dislike something, express that dislike to the studio. But why are you crawling into someone's personal social media feed? And if you need a human, look at the first few names in the credits as your response. Then Mark is to be disregarded, as his opinions are moot. He will not engage with people. He's an old man thinking he knows better than everyone else.
Oh, Canada.
Anywho, thank you guys for your time. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a great evening. Good night.